If the truth be told.
I'm early, am I?
Yeah.
I'm never persistent. Is not consistent.
No, but you get 8 o'clock is fine, 7:30's fine, 8:30's fine, but you're always late at 9.
It's a bit dodgy between me and you, isn't it?
Yep. Any crack now?
No.
I accidentally called Caroline Ashleen on the radio yesterday. When was the most inappropriate time you screamed out the wrong name?
Oh, God. That's a big question, that. Oh, I called somebody Mammy one time.
He's so innocent, Caroline, isn't he?
What? No, I'm not innocent. Do you know? But I called Mammy. Do you know? It must show that I love this person and just call him Mammy. One time, you know.
So you called him Mum?
I called him Mum.
I've done
Thanks,
that
Mum.
too.
Do you know? But then you obviously must care for this person. When to see them like your mum, like.
There's an awful lot worse.
What could
than
you
being called Veronica?
Veronica. Veronica's a nice name.
It is. It's very
There's
nice.
a lot of Veronicas out there.
There is, eh?
Yeah.
That's all right. So you called someone Mum. You can't divulge who they is or who they are. No, was it a woman?
No, it was a lady. But how do you call a man Mum, wouldn't you? Yes, Mum.
I don't know. You're capable of anything.
I know. Did you like my hairband?
Yeah,
Me and Neve,
beautiful.
wasn't that good?
Yeah.
Because Neve's always on about do videos. And I said, come on, we'll do a video about this and that. She says, and then she's the one that wants me to do videos. And then she says, no, just take a picture.
What worries me is there's a few comments there, and a couple of people are saying that yours is nicer, which I think is quite worrying.
See, if I had a wee bit of lipstick on, I was going to say, if I had lipstick, it would suit my lips. You know, you could let on as just that. Come on, we're going to be late for news.
All right, good luck. Right. Come here. What headband are you wearing tomorrow? Because this is a feature now.
You should wear a hairband.
Good man. 9 o'clock, time for a news update. Donald Kavanagh, good morning to you.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Dáil has been told that the West and Northwest is being used as a picturesque region in which to launch plans, but it's being ignored when it comes to their implementation. Sligo Leitrim and South Donegal Deputy Mark McSharry hit out at the Transport Minister Eamon Ryan, who recently indicated to a meeting of councillors and officials in Sligo that there wouldn't be money available to progress the Knock-Clooney upgrade of the N17, despite the fact that it's been identified as a key element of the Atlantic Economic Corridor and a vital spur on the 10T European road network. Deputy McSharry told the Dáil Minister Ryan is a nice fella, but his idea of implementing the programme for government is to do what he wishes it said.
The people of the Western Seaboard are a little bit sick of the fact that it's the chosen location for the launch of Ireland 2040, and it was good enough for Biden to come to Ballina or Knock or wherever else. But when it comes to implementing the programme for government, here we have, in effect, Minister Ryan dragging Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael around this house in line with his chosen and preferred version of what he might have liked the programme for government to be.
The Dáil has been told that Letterkenny University Hospital must be given a fair allocation of resources as management seek to implement a new plan to address concerns raised by HICWA. Deputy Patrick McLaughlin challenged Taoiseach Leo Varadkar to ensure the hospital is given the funds and resources necessary to ensure that plan is implemented. In his response, Leo Varadkar said while he hasn't seen the plan, government will consider all plans to improve services. He added that hospitals often struggle to fill vacancies when additional jobs are sanctioned.
Thanks, Deputy. I'm afraid I haven't seen the plan, but I certainly look forward to taking a look at it, and I've visited the hospital on many occasions. Obviously, we'll consider positively any plans that a hospital has to expand their services. One of the difficulties we often run into when we allocate additional resources for staffing is that hospitals often struggle to find those staff given the international shortage of health skills. And as you know, we do have expansion plans to provide more beds, about 1,000 more already provided since the government took up office.
And the government is launching a campaign today. The Irish Cancer Society, is launching a campaign today urging the government to allow women undergoing cancer treatment defer maternity leave. The ICS says legislation in its current form affects up to 60 women each year. It's been described as fundamentally unfair because at present men can defer their paternity leave, but women can't do the same. CEO Avril Power says changes to legislation need to be implemented.
The time they had planned to spend caring for and bonding with their baby is being taken away by their cancer treatment. The Paternity Leave Act, which is more recent obviously than the maternity legislation, allows men to park their paternity leave. That isn't there in the Maternity Act. We think it was probably an oversight, and we're calling on the Minister to change it, and the precedent is there from the other legislation.
And the weather forecast dry for most areas with just a few isolated showers today, mainly limited to this evening. Good spells of sunshine. It'll turn a bit hazy as the day goes on. Top temperatures this afternoon, 20 to 24 degrees Celsius in light southerly breezes. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
To Amy,
Happy birthday to you.
Okay, Nathan, you're next. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
My birthday's not till next month.
Like getting your money's worth? Enjoy a €1.70 cheeseburger, part of the McDonald's Eurosaver menu. Price varies on delivery orders. Served from 11 a.m. subject to availability.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And hello, very good morning to you all. It's 4 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 22nd of June, 2023. And it's Thursday. I said it, but I can't believe it. Anyway, we're here for the next 3 hours of the 9 till Noon Show, keeping you informed, entertained, and hopefully you'll do the same in return. The lines are open for you right now, 086 60 25,000. Get your WhatsApps and texts into that number, 086 60 25,000. I encourage you, if you've never texted a show before, to get involved in this one. It's your show. You can give us a call to an 07491 25,000. Caroline and Neve are taking your call, and if email is your thing, well, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And don't forget, if you wish, you can watch the show live across our social media. We broadcast it every day for the 3 hours. YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch it on your phone, laptop, tablet, smart TV, or your Fire Stick. We're also across Facebook as well. And it's Thursday morning, as I've mentioned for the third time now, my apologies, which means there's loads of papers out. And very interesting to get your views on this one. It's the front of the Tyrconnell Tribune. Tourism interests and the people of Fanad have been left reeling in disbelief with confirmation that Port Salon Pier will be closed to the public from early July into Halloween to facilitate major construction works costing €1.5 million. Now, I presume the works are to be welcomed, but it is an incredibly busy pier, very difficult to park on or get down to, but it is an incredibly busy part of the world. And I saw that myself about a month ago. So that was well outside the summer season, and it was wedged. Well, reading on here, many of those engaged in the tourism sector at Port Salon told us their season now is effectively wrecked if the council pushes through with the start of the contract in early July. The project has the shortest possible lead-in time frame, and with a completion date of October 31st to comply with EU rules, the clock's already ticking on turning the pier into a construction site in early July. The work will see the installation of a sheet-piled wall for the entire length of the pier, and gunnet repairs, quay wall construction, marine construction and ancillary works, all business interests. The licensed trade, kayaking, pier jumpers, leisure boat owners, food and catering, parking spaces, the swimming lessons, the holiday lets, caravan parks, they accept they will be hit and some may not survive. However, the message has to go out that Port Salon is open for business this summer. Access to the shorefront and the beach shop will be open, and a floating pontoon will be moored to cater for boating traffic. So you can see they're trying to do something there to keep activity ongoing, but the pier in and of itself will not be accessible for summer. Have you an interest in that, and have you an opinion on that? 086 60 25,000. The Donegal News carries the same story. There are growing fears that the county's tourism industry will be severely hit by plans to carry out essential works at a number of popular tourist sites during the busy summer months. Locals in Port Salon have already expressed anger at the news that Port Salon Pier is to close on July 1st for 2 months to allow for planning repairs to the pier. Funding is also in place for major works at the piers at Rathmullen, Bunbeg and Burton Port, and there are concerns that those works will also need to be carried out during the summer season before the funding runs out at the beginning of November. So a significant amount of money was allocated for this works. It is important, but I think with the tourism season coming, you can see how people are saying, well, why can't you do this at another time of the year? But if the money might be lost if it's not done this summer, it's a difficult one, isn't it? As I say, any views and insights in that, get in touch with us. The Donegal Democrat tells us that a Donegal County councillor has been charged with assaulting a fellow councillor and with stealing a mobile phone from another councillor. Councillor Frank McBurty faces 4 charges relating to alleged instances at the Ora Leisure Centre, Salaharain, Letterkenny on July 11th, 2022. The charges arise out of alleged incidents during a special meeting of Donegal County Council. The case was mentioned at Monday's sitting of Letterkenny District Court. Councillor McBurty was not present but was represented by his solicitor, Mr. Patsy Gallagher. The 54-year-old is charged with assaulting Jerry McMonigal. The offence is contrary to Section 2 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act 1997. He also faces a charge of stealing property, to wit a Samsung S21 Ultra mobile phone valued at $1,000, the property of Gary Doherty. The offence is contrary to Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Theft and Fraud Offences Act 2001. Councillor McBurty is charged with using or engaging in threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour with intent to provoke a breach of the peace and being reckless as to whether a breach of the peace might have been occasioned. This offence is contrary to Section 6 of the Criminal Justice Act, as amended by Section 22 of the Intoxicating Liquor Act 2008. He's also charged with that he did drive a vehicle without due care and attention, on an offence contrary to Section 52 of the Road Traffic Act. Sergeant Jim Collins told the court that the Director of Public Prosecutions has directed that the matter be dealt with summarily in the District Court. Mr. Gallagher said he would take instruction from his client, but asked that the court make a statement order to include all CCTV circulated and in possession of on Garda Síochána through social media or otherwise. Mr. Gallagher said these were well-documented matters. He said his client was de facto unemployed. There will be an application, depending on circumstances, for the state to fund the defence of this, the solicitor said. The case was adjourned until October 16th of this year. On to the Derry news now. And Derry man to lead Dublin's Pride Parades. The headline: a Derry man will lead the Dublin Pride Parade this Saturday, half a century after he co-founded a group that organised the first ever Pride demonstration in Ireland. Micheál Kerrigan, gay rights, civil rights and social activists will be at the front of the parade as Grand Marshal this Saturday, the 24th of June. Right, let us go on to the Nationals. This is well inside the papers, but it is a story that I know a lot of you are following, so I'll read the update for you. It's in the Irish Times. The introduction of a new hate crime law is a step closer after it passed second stage in the Seanad. Concerns were raised by some senators about the potential for the legislation to have a chilling effect on freedom of speech and at the lack of a definition for hatred in the proposed law. However, Minister for Justice Helen McEntee defended the bill, saying it has been in development for 4 years and insisted it has not been rushed. A bid by some senators to have consideration of the legislation postponed to the end of the year to allow more time for the debate around the controversial issues it deals with was defeated in a Seanad vote. The Criminal Justice Incitement to Violence or Hatred and Hate Offences Bill 2022 is aimed at updating laws criminalising hate speech and legislating against hate crimes for the first time. It'll criminalise any intentional or reckless communication or behaviour that is likely to incite violence or hatred against a person or persons because they are associated with a protected characteristics. Now, such characteristics are race, colour, nationality, descent, religion, ethnic or national origin, gender, including gender expression or identity, sexual orientation or disability. The debate on the legislation resumed in the Seanad yesterday with a contribution from Independent Senator Sharon Cogan. She said, she argued that the proposed law is so broad in its scope and casts a prosecutorial net so wide that upon its passing, no citizen will ever be entirely sure what they are free to say. Now, the government say otherwise, but that's a view being expressed by the senator there that others feel. But anyway, it's rattling on through. It's through the door, through the Seanad. The Irish Independent this morning, the central bank has been accused of being fast asleep when it comes to helping mortgage prisoners who loans were sold to vulture funds. Mortgage arrears campaigner David Hall told the Oireachtas Finance Committee that the central bank is conflicted because it encouraged banks to sell non-performing loans to vulture funds, but also has a duty to protect consumers. And you can see his point. Vulture funds charge mortgage rates to some of their customers that are double the rates charged by banks. And unfortunately, there are those listening to this show today that are facing that nightmare. GEA Go continues to provide controversy. In the Irish Daily Mail this morning, sports fans have cried foul to Minister Catherine Martin over the GEA Go service and the unavailability of high-profile games on free-to-air TV, one being Donegal's recent match with Monaghan, of course. In correspondence to the Sports Minister, her department, members of the public accused both RTE and the GEA, who jointly operate the subscription service, of trying to bleed cash from them. One email said the GEA was getting nearly 30 million in government funding and that they were absolutely disgusted more games were not available. Now, these so-called treasurers want to bleed more money from the people of Ireland. How has this happened, they wrote. Another labelled the GEA the Greedy Athletics Association and said the association's revenues each year were staggering, and so on and so forth. There's more letters from people upset inside that paper today. The Farmers Journal tells us that culling 200,000 dairy cows will cost those who remain in milk production around €2,500 per year on average in higher processing costs. New analysis by the Irish Farmers Journal puts the additional processing costs of a herd reduction scheme at around 39 million. However, this figure excludes the downstream impact on the rural economy of cutting Ireland's dairy output by around 1 billion litres or 11%. The full impact is likely to cost the economy hundreds of millions of euro. Charlie McConalogue admitted to the Irish Farmers Journal that a financial impact analysis of reducing the national dairy herd has not been carried out by the Department of Agriculture or Teagasc. So the paper's done it, but the Minister for Agriculture, his office in Teagasc haven't. Quite remarkable. The Irish Daily Star this morning, Public Expenditure Minister Pascal Donoghue outed himself as a Taylor Swift fan as he warned hotels about charging extortionate prices. Concerned fans have expressed concerns about hotel prices skyrocketing following the announcement that the US superstar will play 2 nights in the Aviva Stadium in June 2024. Just hours after the announcement, it was reported that one hotel had increased its prices from €359 to €999 for the nights of the concert. Now, I think there is a default on some of those booking websites that lists those rooms at $999 for one reason or other. If there's anyone involved in the hotel industry, I'd be really interested to find out what's going on there. I think it does default to that at some point. I don't know what triggers it. And I'm not saying they're not gouging, by the way, but maybe the other rooms were booked out. I don't know. But there's something there. I've seen it all too often where hotel rooms go to $999, and I don't know why. Is it just a price that they're charging? Well, asked at a press conference about the prices, Minister Donoghue exposed himself as a Swift fan. I saw Taylor Swift perform last time she was here in Ireland. He told reporters, I've a pretty good idea about the level of joy and happiness. Anyway, he likes Taylor, but he's asking hotels not to gouge. But listen, there's hardly any hotel rooms left as it is. So it's like an airplane. The less rooms they have, the more they charge, and that's just the way it is. I'm not sure they will change that habit, but perhaps they should. I think a lot of people from this part of the world will go up and down on a bus, won't they? Not ideal, but I think that's what the majority might do. So we're being ripped off in the hotels. We're going to be ripped off for the Taylor Swift tickets too, don't you know? They're going to be a fortune, and we're generally just being ripped off. We are the mugs of Europe when it comes to what we pay, and that's just the bottom line. And I can back it up with some facts here now because it's in the Sun. Ireland is officially a rip-off republic, with new figures showing we're the EU's most expensive country. Eurostat numbers show that prices here are now a shocking, wait for it, 146% of the EU average. Above the EU average, it should read, I think. Ireland is closely followed by Denmark, 145%, and Luxembourg, 137%. Meanwhile, the lowest levels were recorded in Romania, 58%, Bulgaria, 59%, and Poland at 62%. Dara Cassidy from bonkers.ie said, we all know Ireland is an expensive country, but the fact that we're now the most expensive country in the entire EU is still pretty shocking. We are now even more expensive than Denmark, which has long been known as one of the most expensive countries in the world. Prices here now are over 46% above the EU average, and it's getting worse every year. So just for seemingly the fun of it, we're paying almost half on top of what everyone else in Europe on average is paying, and way, way, way above other countries such as the likes of Poland. Why? Who is asleep at that wheel? And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, dating in a housing crisis can be a disaster, with singletons living at home saying it's a struggle to make romance work. With Irish statistics showing 60% of young adults still stuck with mummy and daddy, and the average age of moving out pushing 30, daters don't get much privacy. New research by dating app Bumble has found over 2/3 of Irish adults in Ireland find dating a challenge for this reason. And it doesn't help when you see the price of hotel rooms either, does it? Right, okay. That is a look through the papers. Later on, we're doing Dear Greg, aren't we? Yep. So if you have any questions that you want answered about a relationship, be it a relationship with a partner, so to speak, or a prospective relationship, or even a family relationship, and you want some independent, impartial advice that won't be held against you down the line if you were to maybe engage with a friend or whatever it might be, well, we're here for you. You can email them in absolute confidence, by the way. Please let me assure you of that. Email comments@highlandradio.com. You can text 086 60 25,000 or just give us a call on 074 91 25,000. And if you prefer, maybe you want to private message me on Facebook. I really actually, if it would help someone, that's all the better. You know yourself. Right, okay, we are going to be back with more after the break. Stay right where you are.
Courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountain Top
Show is
Letter.
brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Do you live in an older home? Your house might have lead pipes, which may result in lead in your drinking water. It's important to replace them for you and your family's health. Grants of up to €5,000 are now available to help cover the cost of replacement. Apply for the Domestic Lead Remediation Grant Scheme today through your local authority. For more information, visit gov.ie/lead pipes. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
With July around the corner, it's time to get your 232 ordered. With finance starting from 2.9%, find out why Kia is dominating the Irish market. With diesel, hybrid and electric models. Order before the 30th of June and receive a €500 super value gift card as well. Call into iMotors today and choose your new Kia.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
21 minutes past 9. Liam Ward is the Director of Community Development and Planning Services with Donegal County Council. He joins us on the programme now. Liam, thanks for your time this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, we're speaking in the context now of Donegal County Council, the Creeslough Working Group and the Creeslough Community Association presenting the Draft Village Plan and Draft Community Regeneration Project to local people later today. How long has work been ongoing on this, Liam?
Yeah, Greg, and I suppose at the outset, I would like to say that I suppose as we continue this work, all the parties that are involved, and we get into some of the detail in that, we clearly are very conscious and acknowledge the awful tragedy that happened in Creeslough in the village on the 7th of October last year. And again, extend our sincere condolences to the families directly impacted, the entire community, and I suppose everyone affected by those terrible events. And I suppose just to say that we are continuing to liaise with the families in relation to, I suppose, these different proposals that are now emerging. And we'd like to think that we'll work at a pace and bring people along with us at a pace which they're comfortable with. And we're very, very anxious to do that.
All right, just for context there then, Liam, was this already planned, or is this a process that was begun in the wake of the awful tragedy?
Yeah, I suppose the beginnings, the starting point for this was that in the aftermath of the tragedy, Donegal County Council, through a proposal presented by the Chief Executive, suggested that we would establish a Creeslough working group within Council. And I suppose the purpose of that working group was to look at different projects and I suppose opportunities that might come about that could be funded and could be implemented that would help the community, obviously those directly affected by the tragedy and the wider community, I suppose, in their journey of healing, after the awful events that took place. So this was considered in November last year by Donegal County Council, and from that a working group was established. I suppose just to say a word or two about the working group. The working group is made up by officials from within Donegal County Council, including myself as chair of the group. I'm joined by two colleagues, Paul Kelly and Aideen Doherty. We also have elected members represented on the working group through the Cahirsla of the council, Councillor Liam Blaney, and joined by councillors Michael McClafferty, Noreen McGarvey, and John Hamish O'Farry, all from the Glenties Municipal District. And I suppose most importantly, and I think this is an important point to dwell on, is the community itself being represented within the working group. And those representatives, led by Father John Joe Duffy, also Lorcan Rorty, Yvonne McGuinness, and Stephen Doak, they've played a central role in terms of how this has moved on, and I suppose we are in a stage, and I know we'll be coming to talk about that today, about where we're at now. But as we've progressed through our thinking here, the input from the local community representatives on that group has been vital, really.
Yeah, because we are, the first year anniversary hasn't happened yet, and some might feel that this is so soon that they can't necessarily really process what they want from this process. But that being said, with the people involved that you've mentioned there, they would have a good sense of what the broader community would want. Obviously, everyone's going to have different opinions, but you'd be satisfied with the names that you've mentioned being involved there, that we're doing the right thing then at the right time.
Yeah, and I think your point is well made, Greg. Like, people will move at different paces as to how they deal with us and the aftermath of the tragedy, and we have to be very conscious of that and very mindful of that as we progress our work. But yeah, I say the input from the local community reps, and I think the degree of consultation that we have taken place, that has taken place, the manner in which it was carried out, I think we're confident that we are moving at a pace that people are comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And you're so right. There's no timeline that suits everyone here, and we have to be very mindful of that as we move on with the work.
Okay, so what is on the table at the moment? Like, what has been, and it will be presented to the local people, and they'll have first eyes in it, of course. But just to give us an idea of where we're at, what's up for discussion, what kind of work has been done so far, Liam?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's important to just take us back a small step. This is the second round of public consultation, I suppose, initiated by the Creeslough, the working group. A very active Creeslough Community Association, and very, very strongly supported by ARUP, who are, I suppose, a multidisciplinary global consultancy team who have provided services here and have worked with the group, or the team in the council, on a pro bono basis, and their support has been critical. And Agnes Monaghan and the team in ARUP have been fantastic to work with. So we held an initial round of public consultation in May, and we got some fantastic feedback from that. We got great input. We were very pleased with the level of engagement we had. We had over 180 people attended the event, the public consultation event, which is similar to the event that now will be happening later today. We engaged with the schools. We had, as I said, engaged with the families, or offered the opportunities to the families to engage. We had different stakeholder briefings, including for landowners, for the trustees of lands that we're hoping to use. And we offered the opportunity for an online comments. So in total, we had over 1,200 responses, which was quite remarkable.
That really is, for a public consultation process, that's huge, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's huge. And I suppose what the task that we had was distilling all the feedback that we received, and I suppose emerging from that, there are two pieces of work that we are advancing now, and this is what we want to bring back to the community now, our thinking in relation to both pieces of work. The first of those pieces of work is a village plan. So that's a plan that will allow for different regenerational development projects to occur in the village. It's probably a long-term plan, but it includes a range of different initiatives and different infrastructure projects across the board. And the feedback we got from the community, we would like to think that they will see their comments reflected in that draft plan that we will be presenting later today. That work is being led by ARAP, and they've done an absolutely fantastic job. And I'm hoping that the community will welcome what has been presented. And obviously there will be opportunities to take on board further comment. The second piece of work, which is around, I suppose, a community regeneration project. This came very much to the fore in the earlier consultations. So we are looking at a particular project on a piece of land in the centre of the village. And I suppose at this stage, we are anxious that we present the initial thinking around that we have taken from the consultation that has happened to date. And now that we've worked up some designs around that and what will be included and what may not be included. So this is a further opportunity for the community to engage with us, to say, yeah, they like aspects of it, maybe they don't like other aspects. And from this consultation event, we will take away the feedback we receive, and that will allow us to inform the final concepts for this regeneration project, which we hope to move through the planning process certainly before the end of the year.
So that there presumably, I don't know if a balancing act is the correct way to describe it, but I presume that Creeslough has an incredibly rich history, and that was recognised very recently with the unveiling of a statue in the town. It obviously has a very bright future, but it also has to recognise an awful tragedy that happened very recently, but presumably at the same time, I would imagine it doesn't want to be defined by that either, but recognising it, because how could you not? It's such a it was such a shocking and tragic event. Is that the balances that are trying to be struck here?
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. I mean, this is fully to acknowledge the awful event that did take place, the very tragic loss of life, the huge impact it had on the immediate families and the wider community. But at the same time, to look to the future here, to see what interventions that can be made that will provide, I suppose, the opportunity for a bright future for the community and for the village in Creeslough. As you say, it's a village that's deeply steeped in history and heritage, and it has a lot going for it, and that really came true from the public consultation. And I recall, in the early aftermath of the tragedy, being at a meeting in Creeslough where those there were asked, well, what do you like about your village? What do why do you see this as a good place to live? And while there was a slow start to that conversation, when people got up and running, the facilitator on the night must have filled 2 or 3 different sheets of paper with all the positive things about the village. Yeah. So we're anxious to build on that. And obviously, this requires support. It'll require capital investment. So the village plan, I would suggest, is a longer term piece of work. It's obviously we need to capture what the community wants, and we need to then, over a period of years, seek to target the correct funding to implement some of those. This, I suppose, the regeneration project that we are moving ahead with now, that will, once we get through planning, we will be seeking to have that funded and obviously developed over the next number of years.
Liam, I would imagine that everyone would welcome this entire process, but I'm not privy to any of the submissions or the conversation, if the truth be told, but my gut would tell me that the sight of this awful tragedy, the explosion that cost so much for so many people, that is core point here in terms of what happens there, what happens to the existing building. Are those that lost their lives, will that be recognised at that point, or will that be moved more to the centre of the town? Do you know, I think everyone would sort of could sleep at night about everything else that's going on, but when it comes down to that plot of land, that building that's there, that boarding, that scene, the memories that evokes, I would guess, and you can correct me if I'm right or wrong, that this is the key part of this whole process that has got right.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg, and you're so right. The site of the tragedy is clearly very, very much a focal point. I suppose within the context of the work that we're doing, we're very mindful, that of I suppose the views of the community and any suppose developments that may or may not take place into the future. We're very mindful of what people's views are, the huge impact the site has yet within the minds of not just the families who obviously clearly are directly impacted, but also the wider community. So that's one that we will be approaching with great sensitivity, as you can imagine.
Right. So you had a huge public involvement in this process so far, but in terms of the consultation process, things have moved onwards. So talk to me about the location, the times, and the process for what's going to happen later today.
Yeah, so we have a consultation, a public consultation, a drop-in event in Massenas Hall starting at 2 p.m. today, running until 8 p.m. There's no appointment necessary. People are welcome and encouraged to drop in. And at the event, that will be on display, I suppose, the draft village plan that I've talked about, and also the draft concepts for the community regeneration project. So we have already engaged with, as say, the trustees of the lands that we may be targeting for this development. We've obviously engaged and are working very closely with the Creeslough Community Association. We've also given the families an opportunity for a pre-briefing in relation to, the proposals that are emerging. So while there's an actual consultation event taking place today, the consultation process will remain open. It will remain open until the 13th of July. We have established a website. These documents will be available on the website to view, and people can submit their comments through that process as well. So when it closes on the 13th of July, we'd like to feel that we will have a very good idea of where the community is at and how we might move on from there. So if I can just maybe give details of the website, Greg, that would be helpful. It's just creesloughvillageplan.commonplace.is, and I think that'll probably be carried on your own website.
Yes, for sure. We'll carry it on our socials. Now, finally, Liam, obviously with this can't be timelined, because you said this is a short, medium, long-term project, as is these plans for many areas around the county. But in terms of what might happen in the near future, maybe it would be dealing, with the site of the tragedy itself. Like, what is on the table in terms of what will be done? Because I'm sure you've heard concerns in the past. People, there's a bit of uncertainty. People have come up to me and said, Greg, what are we going to do? I heard there's planning permission in for the site of the Creeslough tragedy. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's the case or not, and I'm not asking you to confirm or not, but that seems to be the focus of concerns and contacts I get. So is that the site of this tragedy? When are we going to decide what's going to happen with that, and when will families know? And is that part of the sort of the short, the medium, or the long-term plan, as far as you see it and as much as you're aware of, Liam?
Yeah, I'm very conscious of a number of things, Greg. Clearly, as I've already commented on, the significance of the site is certainly not lost on anyone. I think that's fair to say. But we are dealing with a situation where, there are private landowner interests here as well. They have to be taken into account. So we're very much conscious of that. And I suppose this sits very much outside the work of the Creeslough Working Group. And we're very much, I suppose, anxious to move on with the regeneration and the developmental projects in as I say, in consultation with the local community and all the stakeholders. But we do see this as and accept that it is a critical issue. I'm not in a position to give you a timeline in relation to when this will be, because it's not within my gift to do so. There are clearly other parties involved, and I suppose we are very conscious of it. We are very much aware of the significance of, you referenced it earlier in terms of the first anniversary of the tragedy coming up again now in the 7th of October. We're very conscious of that as well. But I suppose I'm not in a position to give a definitive timeline in relation to how that moves on.
I get that, Liam, and I'm just trying to cover every question that might come in after we conclude this, so I hope you understand that. Okay, so we're going to link the website for those who maybe it's even too soon for them to make it to the consultation process in person. creesloughvillageplan.commonplace.is. That's the website, but we'll link it, as I say, and the in-person drop-in event, public information event, is from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. today. You can drop in at any point, and it'll be the same at dropping at 7 as if you dropped in at 2. It's in the Massenas Hall in Creeslough, but the process remains open even outside of today's 6 hours. Is that fair to say, Liam? And are you happy enough with that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, or Greg.
That's okay, no problem.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
No problem whatsoever. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. That's Liam Ward there, Director of Community Development and Planning Services with Donegal County Council. 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The moment you got told the good news.
Rob, you made the panel.
When the lads added you into the group. Skipping nights out, missing the crack. Rewatching classics and learning new tricks. Being driven to the biggest game of your life by your mam. And then you finally come on in the 51st minute. It's the minor moments that last a lifetime. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.
Foyleside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foyleside. See foyleside.co.uk.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we're in studio and joined by a number of guests. Brendan Devaney is an ambassador for Plan International, no stranger to the show, of course, in a sporting context. Good morning to you, Brendan.
Morning,
good
Greg.
to have you back. Good to have you back safe and sound.
Yes, indeed. Good to be here.
You had a recent trip, which we're going to talk about, with Carol Wickham, Head of Fundraising and Communications with Plan International. Good morning to you, Carol.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good to have you with us, and thank you so much for joining us. I'll turn them up in a second, Brent. And also Brendan Braddis O'Donnell from Glenties, who also was on the trip and documented it. Good morning to you, Brendan.
Morning, Greg. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you keeping?
Not too bad at all.
He goes by Brad, by the way.
Brad?
That was his,
okay, well,
it's Braddis in Ireland, but it's Brad in Togo for some reason.
Okay, so is it now Brad? I don't know.
Brad,
how. Okay.
Brad, yeah.
Bren, what was the trip like?
Oh, fantastic. Greg, listen, I suppose blessed to be able to go, blessed that the likes of Kieran Brogan, Sister Sarah's and Terry here in the Mount Errigal, sponsored the trip for myself and Braddis to go over to help plan, to document it, and I suppose bridge that gap between sponsoring somebody here and actually seeing the children over there and the work that Plan do. So I was blessed to meet Judith, Deborah and Catherine.
Before you went out, you said you didn't really know how to expect, what to expect or how it would impact you.
Yeah.
On reflection.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm looking at things, I guess, a lot, in terms of what's going on in the world and that, and because I'm involved with Plan, you had a decent idea, but you're still blown away by the energy, particularly when we went up to the village to meet the the 3 girls that I sponsor, but the whole village was out, and listen, it just blew you away. I suppose their spirit, to see them face to face. No, obviously when you sign up to plan, it's €22 a month. They send you a pack with pictures and details, and you then can communicate. You can send small gifts to the kids if you want, but keep in touch with them by letter. Send a few pictures, maybe a colouring book, things like that, and they'll write back to you, and you'll see their progress. So you basically make sure, first of all, they've nutrition and healthy water, but education is a massive thing, and trying to stop things like, early childhood marriage and keeping kids away from I suppose, manual labour and working on the farm, which is the biggest thing. I mean, half the population in Togo is under 18, and farming is a massive thing. So they try and keep the kids in school and education, that they might grow and develop. That's a big thing they plan to do out there.
Yeah, but obviously you've been kept up to date with the people that you've sponsored, okay? But then to be able to travel and see firsthand the actual impact of that in the flesh has to be more impactful than a video or a picture or something. And did you see that? Did you have that experience? What was that like?
Yeah, listen, I suppose humbling doesn't really cover it. When we stepped out first, Bradis was straight on the camera like the professional he is. But myself and Carol were walking in, and this whole thing was going on, right, with music and people dancing and welcoming us. It was a bit hard to take because you were looking around thinking, who's this for? It was a bit strange, but they really rolled out the red carpet, and as I say, Greg, the spirit that they had and the music that they had, and everyone dancing. You had women with wee babies on the back, and you had the oldest women in the village with the youngest dancing, and everybody was having a great time. So that side of things was amazing to see. So I think, listen, Greg, here in Ireland, obviously from Davies Charity Ball, that's what sponsored the kids, and I sponsor some myself as well. But we see a lot of things. People get it tough, and I suppose perspective is the thing. You go out there, you see a very different perspective of what tough is, what life is, and I know in the media here things are hard and things are at home, but I suppose contentment, they were content and they were happy, and I suppose that's a big message.
And it's relating that message, and we've talked about it on this programme, and there's a human condition or a societal thing, and I don't know what it is. I recognise that it's there. I actually do understand it, but it's like what we've seen recently with the awful situation with the 5 people that are lost on that submarine, and we hope they're found safe. But it has been wall-to-wall coverage, front pages, rolling news and whatever. At the same time, we've had hundreds of people fleeing terrible situations in boats, dying in their hundreds. I think yesterday there was another boat capsized, dozens of people lost, barely makes the news. Now, even if it did make the news, I'm not sure how the public's appetite to consume that would be. As I say, maybe that's something we have to hold a mirror up to ourselves and ask, but that is just the reality of it. So it is trying to get us out of our mind space of here and our worries in the immediate, and to sort of show them what you've witnessed, show people's real life situations, what they're going through, but relatable in a way that they can connect with it and be moved by it and do something to help.
Yeah, and that's great. That's a massive thing. What you said there about people coming over, unless we invest in the communities, particularly in Africa, that are trying to come over here, they're going to keep wanting to leave.
Yep,
which then it's a spiral thing. So but with plan, at least you're doing one by one. What I did here, like I fast a day, sponsor a child, or I find me ways of trying to save the €22, because I'm like everybody else, Greg. You spend, your wages comes out, they're waxed. Yeah. If I make it the end of the month, I'm doing well. It's usually in the third week things start to get a bit sticky. So that's a big thing. Like how do you start to help out that small bit? But I guess from my wee boy's perspective in the house, we have the wee pictures of Deborah, Judith, and Catherine in the house. So they're very aware of them and aware then of their life versus theirs and that. So it's that wee bit, I suppose, centering for them as we guys growing up.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to bring Bradis in a second, but Carol Wickham, Head of Fundraising and Communication with Plan International Ireland. I suppose trips like Brendan's and the PR work he does here, and then of course with Bradis, being able to document it in video format, that is part of helping people understand what others are going through and how one can help.
Absolutely, Greg. I mean, it's just huge, and I'm forever indebted to Brendan and Brad for the time that they have given to plan to do this trip, but also, for sharing what really was a life-changing trip, I think, for all of us. And I guess now what we want to be able to do is impart some of that to the nation, to let people know what we saw and how it made us feel. And, you know, I'm the mother of 2 twin girls, 8-year-old twin girls, and I count my blessings that they will not know or ever have to go through what the young children in those communities have to do. What was so humbling was, as Brendan said, how happy and content they all were. The children, the adults, the leaders in the community, the teachers. I'm so grateful. And yet they have relatively little. They don't take education for granted like we do. They need sponsorship programs in their community that can allow their community to be educated. And so for them, seeing somebody like Brendan come over that actually allows those life-changing moments in their community to happen, for them, it was a huge, huge celebration. And I guess that's what we saw in terms of, you know, the singing and the dancing and all of that when we arrived. But I guess also as well, Greg, for me, what is great is looking at somebody like Brendan, who is an ordinary guy like the rest of us and can do make very simple sacrifices in his day-to-day life to do something really, really extraordinary. And, you know, Brendan's right, €22 a month, you know, might seem a lot to some people. But by making small changes in your everyday life, you can very easily come up with that €22 and not only make a difference to the child that you sponsor, but to their whole community. And, you know, that's what's so special, I think, about child sponsorship, is that you have this wonderful relationship with the child that you get to correspond with, but you're also knowing that you're making a difference to a whole community.
Yeah, and I think
that's what's so special about it.
I think the charity sector took a bit of hit over the last little while, with stories about what monies people are earning and what money get through and what have you. And hopefully it's on the recovery now. But I think it's never been more important to show people where the money goes. Do you know what I mean? So they see it, so they don't think, oh, well, that's just going into the pocket of some dictatorship in some country and it'll never make it to the ground. I think what really is valuable about this trip and the work that Brendan does is it shows how the money that you donate, your €22 per month, directly goes to address all of the issues that you have been highlighting. And I think that's more important now than ever it was.
Absolutely. And our donors, you know, get updates, you know, not only when they correspond with the child, but we also give updates about what's happening in the community and where that money is going, whether it's educating the community to help stop, you know, early and forced childhood marriage, or whether it's educating the community to stop female genital mutilation, or whether it's, you know, basics in terms of making sure, you know, there's desks and school books to educate children. All of that is shared with our donors at community level.
Some people, and we're seeing it more so than ever now, and we're actually seeing it in the West now, see education as a threat, and particularly the education of women and girls as a threat. And as I say, we're actually starting to sort of be more aware of how people are threatened by things like that we take for granted, even in the West. I'll come back to you, Carol. But Brad, thanks for waiting so patiently there. I don't know your background in terms of where you've travelled and what you've seen, Brad, but how big of a shock was this to you in terms of, like, were you aware of what it was like? Was this your first experience in getting off the plane and getting the camera out? What was the experience for you like?
It was amazing, Greg, because I had a fair idea through speaking to Carol and Brendan about it, you know, what the work they were doing and whatever, you know, but it's only when you go out and see it yourself. Like, I mean, the conditions, and, you know, they've got so little, so they have. I mean, they're living in shanty towns, and they're living in places with literally straw just on a roof with no sides or no back or nothing on it, you know what I mean? No toilet facilities, things we take for granted, and they're not there. But when you see how happy, as Carol alluded to, like, I mean, how happy they are, how welcoming they were to us as well. You know, we sit back complaining about small things, like, you know, and it's only when you go to a place like that you realise, you know, maybe we have too much or something, I don't know, but out there, they're so happy with the little that they have.
Is this trip life-saving? Life-saving it is, of course, but life-changing for you, Brad?
Absolutely, Greg. I mean, as I said, you're sitting back worrying about small things in this and our part of the world. At least we know that we have food and we have beds and we have, facilities and things like that, whereas they don't have that, but yet they're so happy. Do you know what I'm saying? There doesn't seem to be as much negativity in the world out there as there are here with all we have, if you know what I'm saying. So in terms of that and in terms of the way that they embrace Brendan, the way he came out to them and the welcome that they give, with music and with song and everything, it's life-changing, and I think we should be very grateful for what we have. And if there's any way at all we can help them out there, even a small bit, you know what I mean? To sponsor one kid makes a huge difference out there.
What
for the girls.
I beg your pardon. What do you hope to do with the footage? I presume that's a group decision, is it? Have you? You've got a lot of stuff there, Bradis. What are you going to be doing with it, do you think?
Well, what we're doing, and there's a few things we done for Plan International as well that'll be used around the world for theirs to raise awareness on that, and then on social media platforms we're going to do as much as we can, and between my connections and Brendan's connections with the media, we'll hopefully get some other things out onto the national media and that as well too, in terms of short snippets and that, off the footage, just to highlight the great work that Plan are doing out there.
All right. Brendan, one sec, go ahead.
Yeah, there's nothing big on the Greg Hughes show, of course. That's the main thing. I just got to say,
he has to say that because he knows I'm going to call him out, and publicly on Twitter I will as well.
Yeah. We've talked to a couple of TV and radio stations, but I'm not going to mention Greg because this is your show.
You mention them. Go ahead. Go ahead. Listen, I'm not precious like that.
Here's what I've got to mention, Greg. Carol, what an absolute angel and saint of a woman. I'll tell you what, me and Bradis initially were talking about going on this trip on our own. Forget it. We wouldn't even go past Paris. Carol basically sorted everything. I don't know how she did it. And on me, I've a wee bit of insight into doing things. See this Brad man, right? Do you remember The Simpsons, Otto, the bus driver? There you go. That's our Brad. He was laid back, chilled out dude. When we landed in Togo, his visa wasn't even sorted. We didn't even think we were going to get out at one stage. But Carol, anyway, with the magic that she does, they sort the whole thing out. But see, between the three of us, Greg, we had such a good time with the three. It's a crack we had. How we were received by the Togo Plan staff out there.
Did you sing for them?
Me and Carol were on dancing in the middle of the night. We might use that tape for a bit of Strictly Come Dancing, Carol. It was good, yeah.
Okay, listen, in the last... obviously this will be drip-fed over various platforms over the next while, but just in the last minute, if you don't mind, Carol, talk to us about how people can support Plan International if they wish.
Yeah, so our website is plan.ie, and there's multiple ways people can support us. So we have the sponsorship program, which is €22 a month, but we also have funds like Girls Fund, which keep children in education, and that can be a regular gift for a lower amount if that suits people. And you can also give cash gifts that will help us educate communities to end child marriage, and we're also running hunger campaigns because, as you know, Greg, there's a huge hunger crisis happening at the moment.
And we shouldn't ever
there's
forget
there's multiple ways depending on how people want to interact with us and what's of interest
it's
to them.
not just us affected by what's happening in Ukraine too. It's having a ripple effect right through Africa in terms of food and stability. And it's another part of this whole thing that's never discussed, really. Carol Wickham, thanks so much for your time. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Bradis, thank you so much for your time, all right? And we look forward to seeing all your stuff. Take care.
Brilliant.
Right,
thanks,
bye-bye.
Greg. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
And last but not least, Brendan Devaney, thank you very much for calling in, and we'll chat to you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
As a professional, you want your van to be as efficient as you. Efficient with time and efficient with space. The new Renault Kangoo Van E-Tech 100% electric is made for you. With up to 300 kilometres of range, fast charging as standard, and 3.9 cubic metres of loading capacity. New Renault Kangoo Van E-Tech 100% electric from €96 per week for those who never stop. Offer is made under hire purchase agreement. Installments are taken monthly. Terms and conditions apply. See Renault.ie.
Be prepared for training and match day with Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, with a variety of mouthguards, shorts, socks and boots from O'Neill's, ATAC and Adidas. Exclusive Michael Murphy GAA gloves are available in 4 different styles. You'll find everything your team needs to succeed on match day at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Escape the ordinary and immerse yourself in total relaxation at the Tess Rose Ocean Spa and the 4-star Ballyliffin House and Spa in Inishowen. Discover a luxurious thermosuite experience and top your experience off in the rooftop garden hot tubs. Book the spa and dine offer with thermosuite experience, hot tubs and 2-course meal from only €49 per person. Book your next spa getaway. ballyliffinhouse.ie.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
At Manor Motors Opel, we're half-full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option. Pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See manormotors.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Dreaming of a getaway this summer? There's still time to book with TUI, flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon airports. Summer, best enjoyed on holiday. TUI, live happy.
Cow culture cost farmers millions. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive analysis reveals how a potential cow cull scheme could impact your farm. County councils to ramp up water quality inspections on farms. New grants to do up all farmhouses and farm safety measures. Find out who can claim the new 60% women's TAMS payment. And don't miss your free 32-page summer food magazine with unmissable advice on cooking the perfect steak.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale today.
The Jive Time show will be coming live this Friday from Dunfanaghy Golf Club for their 24 for 24 charity golf event. We have the usual great music and chat and a few giveaways on the day. So join us this Friday at Dunfanaghy Golf Club from 2:30 to 5 p.m. Thank you to Arnold's Hotel, the White Atlantic Camp and Boise Centre Dunfanaghy for supporting our outside broadcast.
Conor McCready's Country Tea Party in aid of the Donegal Hospice takes place this Sunday 25th in the Orchard Inn, Letterkenny from 1 till 5 p.m. Featuring Keelan Brown, Simon Peters, Paul McCall, Killian McLaughlin, Elaine Boyle, Johnny Haughey and more. This ad is sponsored by the Orchard Inn.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. The chair of Donegal County Council's Creeslough Working Group is urging people to attend a public consultation at Massiness Hall today as work continues on 2 projects. Director of Services Liam Ward says the open event between 2 and 8 o'clock this evening will update people on progress with the village plan, which has already been the subject of an initial round of consultation, while the working group will also ask people's views on a community regeneration project on trustee lands to the rear of St Michael's Parish Church. On today's 9 till noon show, Liam Ward told Greg they're particularly anxious to speak to people about that project, which they hope to progress through planning in the coming months.
We are looking at a particular project on a piece of land in the centre of the village, and now that we've worked up some designs around that and what will be included and what may not be included, and from this consultation event we will take away the feedback we receive, and that will allow us to inform the final concepts for this regeneration project, which we hope to move through the planning process certainly before the end of the year.
More detail on that and more of that interview with Liam Ward now available on our website, highlandradio.com. You can watch the whole interview back on our YouTube channel, and later today the entire 9 till noon show will of course be podcast on our website, and you can also watch back on YouTube and our Facebook and social media pages. The Dáil has been told that the West and Northwest is being used as a picturesque region in which to launch plans, but it's being ignored when it comes to their implementation. Sligo Leitrim and South Donegal Deputy Mark McSharry hit out at Transport Minister Eamon Ryan, who recently indicated to a meeting of officials and councillors in Sligo that there would not be money available for the Knock-Clooney upgrade of the N17, despite the fact that it's been identified as a key element of the Atlantic Economic Corridor and a vital spur on the 10T European road network. Deputy Mark McSharry told the Dáil that hundreds of thousands of people right across the northwest and west will be put out by this delay. He told the Dáil that Minister Eamon Ryan is a nice fella, but his idea of implementing the programme for government is to do what he wishes it says, rather than what it does say.
The people of the Western Seaboard are a little bit sick of the fact that it's the chosen location for the launch of Ireland 2040, and it was good enough for Biden to come to Ballina or Knock or wherever else. But when it comes to implementing the programme for government, here we have, in effect, Minister Ryan dragging Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael around this house in line with his chosen and preferred version of what he might have liked the programme for government to be.
Again, the whole of that exchange available on our website. The controversial Government Consultative Forum on International Security Policy gets underway in University College Cork this morning. It's designed to build understanding and generate discussion on our foreign security and defence policies. Protests are being held against the meeting. People Before Profit are calling it a sham. But Declan Power, a security analyst who's taking part in the forum, says important issues are being discussed.
What we need to be doing in order to protect our citizens, our air, our sea and other territories from aggression. And we now know that aggression comes in more than the kinetic form. So this is to allow for an exchange of ideas that will be filtered out into the public realm, that hopefully will give the ordinary members of the public perspective on this. And then we can have a more informed debate.
The supply of oxygen in the missing submersible in the Atlantic Ocean is dwindling rapidly. Oxygen on board the vessel carrying 5 people is forecast to run out at 12 this afternoon. Underwater noises heard during the search for Titan sparked fresh hopes of finding the submersible, but former British Navy officer Dr. Chris Parry believes investigating the banging was predominantly done to lift spirits.
This banging sound, it was totally unlikely to have been from Titan. You've got a lot of noise in the water, mechanical noise from all sorts of things. And why would you bang on the side of a carbon fibre hull which you don't want to break? You know, it was never ever a valid sort of thing to go off on. I think they were just trying to give people hope and maintain morale, to tell you the truth.
Well, the forecast Met tell us it'll be dry for most of today. Just a few isolated showers, and they'll be mainly confined to this evening. Good spells of sunshine as well, turning a bit hazy as the day goes on. Top temperatures this afternoon, 20 to 24 degrees Celsius in light southerly breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 22nd of June. The death has taken place of Honor King, Maharanchur, Buncrana. Her remains are reposing at her brother Carl's residence in Maharanchur. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 for 1 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private please from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desired to Hillcrest Lodge, Letterkenny, care of any family member or McLaughlin and McLaughlin funeral directors. The church service can be viewed online at churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Martin O'Donnell, Strabo, Cockhill, Buncrana. Martin's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral on Saturday morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Donegal Hospice, Letterkenny, care of Martin's family members or McKinney funeral directors. The death has taken place of Susan McColgan, Cranley Park, Derry, and Carrorea Road, Carndonagh. Funeral from her home in Carndonagh tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columbus Church, Drung Quigley's Point, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Foyle Hospice, care of any family member. And the death has taken place of Anna McMonigal, née McGinley, 8 Ardcrana, Gortlee, Letterkenny, formerly of Moyle Hill, Milford. Her remains will repose at her son Joe and Sandra McMonigal's residence at Wood Road, Cullion, Letterkenny, today from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 12 noon in the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Gortlee, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in Newleck Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube channel. Rosary tonight at 9. Family time, please, before the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you've just joined us. And we're welcoming new listeners all the time. And just to let you know what we do here as well, if you are new to the programme, we're here to help you. If there's something you want to highlight or some help you need with something, get in touch with us. We'll try our best to do so. We have great success in helping listeners across a whole range of things. A lot of it doesn't even make the air because it gets resolved by the time it was due to come to air. But that's what we're here for. And you can WhatsApp text us 08660 25,000. Maybe you've an experience you want to pass on. And I'll give you a perfect example of that, because sometimes people are very moved by an experience and they want to share it with others. It's a simple one. I feel I must text in and acknowledge the prompt and excellent care and attention my grandchild received at the ED in Letterkenny Hospital after an accident. It was busy, the staff were flat out, but very professional and competent. Thank you for all the care. So they obviously went through a stressful time, but wanted to relate their happiness with how their grandchild was treated. Greg, it's only now I'm able to speak of this, says an emailer. So affected I am by the awful incident I witnessed on Sunday evening in my local town. I was sitting outside having a drink for Father's Day in a popular restaurant bar in the town when a couple exited the bar, went over to another couple who were sitting in a pod eating, spat on their food and walked away. How utterly revolting. I witnessed no altercations before or even after. I heard no words spoken. The offended couple looked shocked. Management came out, cleaned up and replaced the meal, and everyone went on as if normal. No Garda and no fuss. The offending couple ate their meal, paid and left. Is this a regular thing when eating out in my area? I've provided my details to Gardaí as a witness in case the people concerned want to make a complaint. Now, what a disgusting act. Spitting is one of the most disgusting acts, isn't it? So this person sitting there out for Father's Day watched one couple walk past another couple who were sitting outside, spit in their food, get in the car and leave. It seems the couple who were the victims of that didn't complain, but that person was so shocked by it that they made a statement to the Gardaí in case that couple did make a complaint. And perhaps maybe you are that couple listening. Someone has witnessed it and made a complaint to the Gardaí. You'll know precisely where it is. I am a lost parent at the moment, says this listener. My child has been on the ENT waiting list since 2021. The department has received letters from our GP and a specialist stating that my child needs urgent care. He gets ear infections every 2 to 3 weeks. I received a letter from the department saying priority status will remain unchanged. I'm at a complete loss. Now, our eldest Lee had this. Now, I presume they're getting ear infections all the time. He had it from a baby. It was an absolute nightmare. Every 2 or 3 weeks, the ear infections would come on, and everything would be calm, and next thing, the crying would be. I walked miles every single night, out in the car, vacuum cleaners, and then of course, anything to try and calm them. White noise. I know exactly what you've went through. Now I can tell you what I did. I got Lee grommets in. Now this is going back 10 years on the National Treatment Purchase Fund. He ended up getting the grommets in really quite quickly in a private hospital in Galway. It was done through the National Treatment Purchase Fund. So I'm not sure if that still applies now or if that can be done, but I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly what the young person in your life is going through. And the solution for me and Lee was through the National Treatment Purchase Fund. So I presume it's grommets they're looking to get in. That's probably what they'll end up doing. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're actually not at that stage yet. You still need to see, you probably still need to see a consultant before you're referred to that, actually, now that I think of it. So maybe you're a little... The only thing I know is that GP's letters, I'm not sure really, they get so many of them. I'm not sure it makes any difference. So anyway, let me read the text one more time. Let it put it out there. This person's obviously at the wit's end. There is lots worse, but you know what I'm saying. There's nothing worse than a child getting regular ear infections. They're on antibiotics all the time if it's the same situation that we had. So I'm a lost parent at the moment. My child has been on the ENT waiting list since 2021. The department has received letters from our GP and a specialist stating that my child needs urgent care. He gets ear infections every 2 to 3 weeks. I've received a letter from the department saying on priority status was remained unchanged. I'm at a complete loss. As I say, I don't know where you are in that process, but just double check to see if the NTP, National Treatment Purchase Fund, the NTPF, might sort that out for you, because I couldn't have done another 6 months or a year of dealing with a child getting an blue ear. It was almost like it was called the inside of the ears, red raw, and just the intense pain that would just come on like that, and then it would abate, and then it would come on like that. I don't know if it's the same situation with you, but that was my experience. But we'll put it out to the listeners. Maybe my information is not constructive. Someone else probably has a better understanding of the terminology you're using and might be able to help better. Hi, Greg. What about the people who use plastic bin bags, throw them at the end of the road the night before the collection? Birds and dogs tear the bags and the rubbish is left there as the owner live further up the road and don't clean it up. Think plastic bags should not be allowed. I thought that, they are still allowed, but I thought they were moving away from that. But anyway... Now, Vinnie McLaughlin was on this show in the past, lovely lad, and he is running a charity football match again this year for Cystic Fibrosis Ireland. It's Man United fans versus Liverpool fans, so you can imagine, even though it's going to be very friendly, there's going to be some quite strong rivalry there. It's Friday the 23rd, tomorrow. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff at Letterkenny Community Centre, and Vinny's inviting you all down to come and watch the match and have a bit of crack. So if you're free tomorrow evening, Manchester United fans are taking on Liverpool fans. It's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Maybe you just want to watch a game of football on a Friday night at the Letterkenny Community Centre, and it's in support of Cystic Fibrosis Ireland. So I imagine it'll be a great bit of fun, and I hope plenty of people can go down and support that event. Rightio, let's take a break for the bingo numbers. It's jackpot day. Good luck if you're playing today.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 22nd of June, jackpot day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €18,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 25. The jackpot number is 61. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers: 84, 11, 17, 53, 23, 19, 43, 9, 83, and finally 42. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Now we welcome onto the programme Larissa Feeney, who has been elected as president of the Donegal Women in Business Network. Congratulations to you, Larissa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Greg, and good morning. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, indeed. And you've really big shoes to fill. Perhaps a word first on former president, the outgoing, or the outgone now at this stage, Joe Daly.
Yes, absolutely. Big shoes to fill. Joe was president for 3 years, and it was 3 very difficult years, obviously, Greg, over the pandemic. And she put a huge amount of time, hours, blood, sweat and tears into that role. And really, the network is all the stronger for her contribution. So we're very, very sorry that she stepped down as president, but she is remaining on the committee. So we're delighted about that. So we're not losing that experience.
Yes, of course. And you have your own priorities, of course, but also part of your remit, I presume, will be to build on the foundations that have been laid before you.
Exactly. So the network will be 25 years old next year. The first meeting was back in 1999. And really, it has been a huge amount of effort, volunteer effort over all of those years. And what I'll do, I suppose, and what the committee will do is pick up the baton and carry that forward and continue to build on the effort to help support women in business in Donegal to make their businesses stronger and more sustainable into the future.
And we have seen progress over the lifetime, haven't we, of the Donegal Women in Business Network?
We have. I mean, the need was identified by the local enterprise office at that time as there needed to be some support for women in business in Donegal. And indeed, that has been confirmed over many statistics and surveys over the years. But we have seen progress, and it has been very, very positive. However, there was just another survey released this morning, Greg, that showed that we've gone back a little bit over the last couple of years in our progress. So we still have a lot of work to do.
Why are we going backwards?
Well, maybe the pandemic played a part, perhaps that disrupted progress in some way. And maybe we just have more work to do. I mean, we do have to continue to advocate for women and to be a voice for women and to recognise that women in business have different needs and they have unique challenges that are different to men. And we have to recognise that and support that and continue to invest in women to help them to start businesses and grow and scale.
Does it help too, though, that we have, leading lights or women at higher up positions in business? And I'll mention our own CEO here, Fionnuala Rabbit, and she's also president of Letterkenny Chamber. A lot of plates to keep rotating. And I also know to the recent Letterkenny Chamber, a lot of the business leaders there were women, people in senior roles. So obviously more needs to be done in that area, but the more presumably women we have in those senior positions, it brings hopefully more women through in companies and encourages other women to start up their own enterprises as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't be what you can't see, right? So the more of those role models we have, the more that we can see, the more that are visible, Greg, that's very important. So you've mentioned Fionnuala, obviously, and there's many other examples as well in the county and in the country. And the more of those that we see and the more of those that women and girls hear from, and that, it becomes very normal, doesn't it? And hopefully we won't have to have this conversation in the future. But at this point in time, we're not quite where we need to be.
Yeah, though the networking events are hugely important, aren't they, to the Donegal Women in Businesses network in terms of support and making connections or inspiring or advice being shared?
Yes, exactly. So we actually had one just last night. We had a fabulous networking event at Oakville Park in Northfold, where we raised a glass to the summer solstice, and that was just an unbelievable event. Nikki Bradley joined us, and Nikki spoke about her journey and how she's built resilience over the years. But that support and that networking element of the network is vital to women in business, especially in the early years of their business. It's been proven that women require that a certain level of support, community collaboration, and education in order to help grow their confidence so that they feel able and competent to start their own businesses and build and grow their businesses.
How do people join the network? And I suppose at sort of what stage of a process they might be going through, like an idea, or maybe they've started something, or so talk to me a little bit about, you know, how people become part of this network, and at what stage of their journey do they tend to, or are they encouraged to get involved?
Well, we actually asked the question last night, Greg, you know, how many people in the audience. There was about 70 people there last night, and they were really at various stages. So there was people who had only been in business less than 1 year, and there was people who had been in business for several years. So really from all ends of the spectrum, really from idea stage right through. But also not necessarily running your own business. I think that's important, because if you have an interest in business, if you're a female who works in a business, and you'd like to develop your career and expand your network. I mean, we all know that your network is your net worth, isn't that right? So, I mean, the more of that the more networking we do, the better for our own personal and career development. So you don't actually have to own a business, but if you have an interest in business, you're more than welcome, and at any stage of your journey.
Yeah, and how do we, this is probably the big question, and perhaps we work through it and find out, Larissa, but how do we stem any backward steps and begin to move forward once again? What do you see as the key areas of attention that are required?
Well, we seem to do a great job in education. I mean, you'll see from that report that was released this morning that we're joint first in access to education. So there's no issues around access to education for females. That is clear. What happens is after that. So once we enter the workforce, it seems just to go awry from there. So there's a lot of things, there's a myriad of things that we have to do in order to continue to build and make sure that we close that gap around support, mentorship, collaboration, networking, and also, you know, the obvious one, of course, is around childcare, because that gap that we take away from the workplace to have our families and the support we need, crucially when we return. I mean, I've seen my own team coming back from maternity leave, and they tell me how difficult it is for them to integrate back into the workplace and to find themselves and find their place again. And I think the more that we recognise that, the better. And then as we go through our careers, we also have the menopause years as well. So that also can have an impact on our development. So it's a recognition, it's the employers and businesses having a recognition of that. And in many cases they do, Greg. And I suppose the more time we talk about it, the more we make it more normal.
Yeah, but that has to be accommodated and taken as a fact rather than seen as a problem or something. And I don't know how we get to that. And you talked about childcare, and speaking to some women in business, they see that actually themselves as the biggest inhibitor. It's not exclusively a problem to Letterkenny, but it's particularly a problem in Letterkenny. Access to childcare. They actually, even a couple of the people I spoke to, ranked it above, in terms of recruitment, for example, and retention, above the housing crisis. Absolutely. Which I thought was really, it opened my eyes, that childcare was above the housing crisis in holding people back, or you know, as I say, in terms of recruitment.
Absolutely, but then we're automatically assuming it's a female problem, and it shouldn't be a female problem. There's a couple that come together to have babies. So I mean, it's the female and the male that should work together to look for the solution to that. And there's the childcare, access to childcare is a separate issue as well, of course.
Can I just say, by the way, not to cut across it was a woman said that to me, and it was it was in relation to couples coming here if both are working. It is, you know what I mean? It just so happened to be a woman that said it to me. She didn't say it to me that it was a problem exclusively to women. Just to be clear, that's not what I said. But go ahead, Larissa. Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand. The challenge is, though, that it is in the main challenge exclusively for women. And we know that, and we see that in the statistics.
But around the provision of childcare, that is a national problem. And if you talk to childcare providers, they'll tell you they can't get the staff.
Yeah.
And if you speak to parents, they'll tell you that they can't get the childcare places. So it's clearly an issue that government has to address from both angles to make it more accessible. And we've talked about this for years, making childcare more accessible. And it hasn't happened. Now, of course, they've done various supports in different countries, and I know even in Ireland we've gone further in the last few years in terms of the preschool support that we're now getting, which is fantastic. But there's more to do there.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, how long is your term, Larissa?
3 years, Greg.
Excellent. So you've and a great, it's exciting, isn't it? I mean, you know, clearly you recognise the challenges, obviously, as the network does as a whole. But hopefully you'll be able to see the progress that can be made over that period of time. I think it's a nice period of time. It's a huge commitment from you, of course, but it gives you an opportunity to work on things with the rest of the network.
Yes, I think what we'd like to be clear on, though, is how much we have almost 250 members, and what the contribution that those businesses make to the economy in Donegal and in Ireland. I mean, each small business contributes around €100,000 to the local economy. So you can imagine the contribution that those women in business make. So I think it's about highlighting that and recognising the importance of that and encouraging more of it.
Okay. It's been lovely to speak to you. I'm sure I'll be speaking to you plenty over the next wee while. Larissa, again, congratulations on your election and the best wishes, and we'll chat again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. That's Larissa Feeney, CEO and founder of Accountant Online, and she's also now the newly elected president of the Donegal Women in Business Network.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
Le déine táimid ile ag déile le costais arda fuinneamh. Tá ahra dénta ag a lán daoine chun an úsáid fuinneamh a leidú. Tá takeíocht ar fáil má tá tú ag stracailt. Má tá triblód a go de bhilí a íoch, leabhar le de haláthaí a luas féidir. Tá cosintí agsúla ar fáil de chuisteméirí. Tá cáir ar fáil ó agrachtaí ar nós mabs agus a lón freisin. Chun fáisnéis áil, take chuig gov.ie/úsáid níos lú ó rialtas na hÉireann.
For the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dolce & Gabbana, Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Calvin Klein, Jimmy Choo and Burberry, Ariana Grande, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Vera Wang and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie. Test drive the Suzuki S-Cross at Barry Brown Cars Milford at their test drive event from the 19th to the 24th of June and avail of the 0% finance offer. That's right. Secure your 232 Suzuki S-Cross at 0% interest this week at Barry Brown Cars Milford, your main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Finance subject to status. Terms and conditions apply.
The Jive Time show will be coming live this Friday from Dunfanaghy Golf Club for their 24 for 24 charity golf event. We have the usual great music and chat and a few giveaways on the day. So join us this Friday at Dunfanaghy Golf Club from 2:30 to 5 p.m. Thank you to Arnold's Hotel, the Wide Atlantic Camp and Boise Centre Dunfanaghy for supporting our outside broadcast.
Hey Greg, just call out to say good luck to the Donegal team on Saturday. Let's hope to see McCool Park packed with Donegal flags and jerseys. Let's get behind the team and make it difficult for Tyrone, indeed. Caller from Bonamy in Letterkenny says, once again, the community has had no water since the weekend, which is adding to residents' concern that no water either for fire hydrants. There's a big forest area behind us. If struck by lightning, we would have been in bother. Yeah, indeed, that's the kind of fear one has to live in when the water is not accessible. Morning, Greg. I rent a house from the council. Every February, we have rent reviews where they send out a form and you have 10 days to fill it out and return. I just received the revised rent notification and my rent has increased by €5.80. That which will be €68.80 per week. Point being, in my pay rise of €10, which I got in January, it's now worth €4.40 a week to me as the council have taken more than half of of it, I'll be telling my boss I don't want any more pay rises. I see. So because your wages increased, they said, right, we'll have half of that towards the rent. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. Me, my husband, my children and my 96-year-old mother went west for a staycation for a few days. It was a Monday, and when we went for a small bite to eat, we only discovered one cafe opened in the area during June, a tourist season. My mother, given her age, is a very poor eater and drinker, so I asked could I get an extra mug so she could have a small amount of tea from my pot. I was shocked to discover upon paying that it was charged, wait for this, an additional €2.50 for the spare mug. The staff were not friendly and stated that we had 2 pots when we didn't. I thought it was rather mean of them to charge us for this. I suspect they've charged you for another pot of tea, even though you only asked for a spare mug and the mistake has been made. Also, I see a lot of places are starting to open this weekend. I think really for a lot of businesses, the tourist season really kicks off this weekend, because schools are closed. A caller says the Titanic is a graveyard of very unrested spirits. Submarines should never go there. Just use a drone camera. But people should not go there. I hope the submarine people are found alive. And, well, it's all so heartbreaking, says that listener. Yes, indeed. I was up Errigal this morning to see the sunrise. Great idea to bring the show up in August. Yes, we're hoping to. Greg, there'll be no shortage of guests on Errigal as it's packed every day with cars there. You might have to shimmy over, but plenty of help carrying equipment. But it could be a Friday. Do the Friday Forum either live or I'd imagine you get great Wi-Fi up there. Well, we'll have to find that out yet. Zoom up there and finish off with the entertainment slot if the CEO says it's okay. And Carlo Weather says he's coming to Donegal too in July. He did say good weather is coming, ideally for him to be involved and see the sights in a different way too. That comes in from Kevin. Listen, Kevin, thank you very much indeed for that. Right, Professor Dennis McMonagle is honorary consultant rheumatologist and Inishowen man, and he joins us on the programme. A very good morning to you, Professor. How are you keeping?
Hello, Greg. Yeah, it's McGonagall. Yeah.
What did I say?
McMonagle, but it's all they're all Donegal variations.
I think that's the problem, Professor. Professor Dennis McGonagall, honorary consultant rheumatologist and an Inishowen man. And congratulations to you, Dennis, as the first Irishman to be awarded the Carol Natchman Prize this weekend for your work in rheumatology. Scale that for us. Is this like Tom Hanks winning an Oscar, but in the world of rheumatology?
First of all, Greg, if I can hijack your show to just say hello to my mother, Mary Teresa, my uncle Eamon and his wife Mary, and brothers John and Danny and their kids, Danny, Sean and Aidan, and Patricia, the wife. And I'd be here for the next half hour if I mentioned all the Doherty cousins on both the maternal and paternal sides. So thank you for having me on. So put it in context, this is the highest global prize in rheumatology. It's run out of Germany, where somebody left an endowment in 1972, and they said, we want to reward people that have contributed new ideas or changed the direction of arthritis and rheumatic diseases. And as far as I know, I'm the first Irish, first Glengarry man for sure to win it, and the first Irishman. And myself and the wife, we're going over there tomorrow to collect the prize in the town hall in a place called Wiesbaden, which is a little city on the Rhine outside of Frankfurt, not far from where Jurgen Klopp used to manage. Once you talk about football, you immediately get the Donegal men lined up.
That's it. Well, before we talk about what you've been doing in your career, can we talk about how your career started and when did the interest in medicine first come to you, and how did you progress that interest?
That's very interesting. When I was a kid, I had childhood asthma, and the local GP, God rest him, Joseph Enright, he used to treat me, and I was amazed at how good doctors were. And then I was blessed with great primary school teachers like Louis Walsh, I spent a lot of time with. Then Karen Donna, really inspirational teachers like Colin Toland, who used to show us how to deduce mathematical equations like E is equal to MC squared. I couldn't do it now, but he taught us back then. Then I got into UCD, and again, great teachers. the guy Hugh Doherty, a Donegal name, was brilliant at immunology. That's how the immune system controls the body, and that inspired me. And then I just had great teachers in the Mater Hospital, guy from Galway, Bobby Coughlin, Owen Casey from Kerry. And then I moved over to Leeds to work with a guy called Paul Emery, who's very, very affectionate towards Irish people, as he viewed as very hardworking compared to people born on this side of the Irish Sea. So that's how it all happened. Lots of great mentors and supporters.
Yeah, millions of people around the world and many people in Ireland suffer from rheumatic complaints. What's happening when we start being affected by this condition?
Yes.
Is it parts wearing out? Is it lifestyle? Is it activity? What's happening?
Yeah, so there's two big issues, Greg. There's commoner garden wear and tear, like if you got a kick or a fall or an injury, where you have rheumatic pains. Now, that is not something a rheumatologist usually sees or treats. That's more physiotherapy and ice packs and painkillers in your GP. So the rheumatologist is a specialist that largely treats diseases where you have a normal skeleton, bones and joints, but your immune system mistakes you as foreign. And then it starts attacking you. So you end up with inflammation and swelling, and your immune system starts destroying your joints. And of course, if you injure a joint or twist it, it'll swell up, and that heals it, helps in the healing. And it gets better in 5 days to 6 weeks. And sometimes it's hard to tell the two apart. So what's happening is in these rheumatic diseases, and the commonest one is rheumatoid arthritis, but there are many others. The immune system is attacking the joints, but not only does it attack the joints, but it also attacks the skin and the eyes and the bowels and many other organs in the body. So rheumatologists are experts across a lot of medicine. So we treat diseases of many systems. And it's interesting that in the COVID pandemic, it was 3 rheumatology drugs that were developed by rheumatologists that actually turned the fight, because these started to work in sick people in hospital. So that illustrates that the rheumatology specialist isn't just for, injuries or twists that you might get at a football match, or a worn out disc from older age, or, worn out joints. We very much focused on how the immune system destroys the joints. And what's happening, Greg, is in this last 3 decades, there's been amazing advancements. My first day as a rheumatology trainee in St. James's Hospital in Dublin, I had about 12 people in bed, immobile with arthritis, and I could take as much fluid off their knee joint with a syringe that would fill half a pint of a beer glass with fluid from the inflammation. And now it's been like 10 years since I admitted somebody with arthritis and inflammation that couldn't be treated. So there's been amazing developments.
Well, yeah. And you have focused much of your career in terms of research, and that's part of this recognition, of course. Why were you drawn to the research side of things, Dennis?
I'm basically interested in how things work. So although I'm a medically trained doctor and I'm a medical consultant, 70% of my activity is in the university, and I'm coming from our labs now in St. James's Hospital, where I have a team of 10 people studying the immune system and cells. And these are all scientists, and one of them's medically trained. So I'm basically a middleman between the patient and the scientist, although I have a scientific lab training. So that's that. So it's just my general interest in how the immune system works. Got me into rheumatology. That was my thing. So some doctors are interested, for example, in surgery or psychiatry or dermatology, but I'm really interested in arthritis, and the arthritic diseases are the most strongly linked to the immune system. So if you want to study the immune system in humans, the best way to do it is in the rheumatic diseases, because so many of them are driven by the immune system. And your listeners, diseases like psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, lupus, scleroderma, myositis, there's long lists of diseases that are relatively rare, but if you add them all up, they affect maybe 1 in 50 people.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And your work, to break it down into layman's terms, and normally when I use this phrase, and listeners will understand it, I'm asking you really to explain it to me so I understand, but I pretend I'm advocating on behalf of the tens of thousands of people that are listening. So in your research, okay, in my reading of it, is you understand, or you try and understand the mechanics of the disease, what's happening, and how the body interacts with the drugs that are used to treat it. If that's a fair synopsis, then what's the end game? What from, you can publish your papers and what have you, but how is that information useful as we try and learn more about it?
Yeah, very good question. So when I started rheumatology, training and research in 1996, I was already clinically trained. The only test we used was X-rays, but now we have high-tech 3D MRI scans and ultrasound scans and other scans. So I'm being awarded this prize because I used these to look inside the body in the earliest stages of arthritis. And we were able to split up that there was, although people walked into the clinic with swollen joints, we were able to define that the arthritis started in completely different parts of the joint in different conditions. And then that allowed us to make accurate diagnosis. And then as time went past, it allows us to pick the right drug first time for the patient. So that's where my work, and again, this is in conjunction with a large team here in Leeds.
So we work smarter, not harder then, is that it? That's the idea that it's...
so we're much better at diagnosis, and the scanning also allows us on day one to help predict who's going to do badly. So then we single those patients out for special extra intense treatment to treat them more aggressively to cure them. So one end game has already been reached, is that all around the world now people use this a scanning technology based on our work. And I say our work because, I was working very closely with expert physicists and radiologists. So there's a big team behind this. So this is globally adopted. So people use this to help diagnose and treat. And the second part of the question is, Greg, so now that we know different types of arthritis start in different places, we extract the tissue from patients undergoing surgery, and then we extract the immune cells from those sites. And companies give our labs millions of pounds, not to me personally. When I say I got £1 million grant, that means zero money for me. It means $1 million for the university, and I get paid my salary. But companies give us money to test their new drugs in these different tissues to see if the drugs work. And then the end game of that is they will launch new drugs to treat arthritis. So the end game, I suppose, is people at the moment are very good at controlling it, just as you can control diabetes with daily insulin injections, but that's not a cure. So there are people, and we talk about how could we move forward to cure disease like some types of cancer, which is often linked to the immune system. There's a big overlap between the immune system and cancer and also arthritis. So we're interested in potentially working with global partners towards curing some of these conditions.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, really, the work that you do in that you kind of almost have to accept that you can't see it through, that you contribute to a journey. If you know what I mean? And we've seen that throughout life, in that you will leave your fingerprints on it. But we probably are... maybe you and I will not be here when the breakthrough is finally made. As an academic and obviously someone who thinks a lot, is that frustrating? How do you process that? You say, right, I'm making great progress here, but such is life. I'm probably not going to be able to see this through because I'm going to have my feet up in the south of France sipping a red. Do you have to, early in your career, come to terms with that? Or is it part of it? Or is it frustration? Or how does that make you feel?
Now, first, I prefer the rain of Inishowen to the south of France. You're less likely to get skin cancer and wrinkled. So,
right, Glengad coffee or something.
Up there.
Yeah, okay.
That's life. We're all on the journey, irrespective of our vocation, whether it's building, houses or, electrician, whatever. Everybody's on the same journey. But and the thing is, we build on other people's work. The work I've done builds on work done in Leeds in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, where they first said, all inflammation is not the same, then we've built on that. And our aspect, like I'm 57 now, so there's about 5 or 6 young people that are trained up as professors.
And I hope you don't think I was writing you off. It's just the wheels move so slowly.
So we train up younger people in the next generation of professors. So yeah, that's right. Absolutely. You need a long-term plan. I fully agree.
A listener concludes that the main reason, and thankfully I have a professor now to put this to, they conclude that the main reason for mass arthritis is oxalates in our food chain and the chemicals being added to our tap water.
Yeah. There's lots of. This is a funny thing, Greg, about arthritis. Most types of wear and tear, not the immune-driven arthritis, but wear and tear. When your body is wearing and tearing itself and wearing out a bit, the joints are actually repairing all the time. So this means, Greg, that if somebody has bad joint pain from wear and tear, if you do nothing within a couple of weeks, it'll likely have improved. And then if you're taking or cutting something out in the diet, you make a spurious association that the oxalates or the tomato or the acid that you've cut out in your diet is the cause of arthritis because you got better. But these things naturally fluctuate and get better. So there are many, many remedies proposed for the wear and tear type arthritis, and including oxalates and these little crystals, which can actually do appear in the joint in wear and tear or osteoarthritis. But yeah, the diet is always a big issue. There's the old saying, we are what we eat.
Yeah, and it's perhaps the easiest example for us to understand that. Gout, for an example, a form of arthritis. Okay, listen, it's been great speaking to you, Professor. Did you get back to Glencad often?
I was over twice this year already, and hope to be coming back over now in the summertime to see everyone.
All right, okay. We'll try and get you that rain that you love so much, Professor. Professor Dennis McGonigal, honorary consultant rheumatologist, of course, a very proud inner showman, and now the winner of the incredibly prestigious Carol Nachman Prize for your work in rheumatology. It's been lovely having you on, and it's great to be able to celebrate our own and the successes, and we wish you all the best into the future and future success. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you, Greg.
Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
An Grian in Erin, wishing if you buckalish.
Kinte ta bagamba grain tiltain.
She alcha kraken an alcha is kutchinta in Erin. Is come to Vesavalja no harlar. Cussen de kraken, tri came in a clishta than Grian a lanunt.
Kai di fada skuilte, kuruchter grain urt. Ka urt hatte grain. Fan fui skane grain fewer leiente skamalacha.
Agus na dein darma there in a spekely grain.
Lan came in a clishta than Grian. O aimenach na services laintje agus eres laintool.
New this week in Home Store and More. All clothes hangers are all half price. That's right, all clothes hangers are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price hangers are gone, they're gone. Also, all camping is still all half price. But when all the half price camping is gone, it's definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Arcadia Retail Park Athlone. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The new Corolla Hybrid Electric range is here, and the Corolla Cross SUV is the latest addition to the iconic family. Spacious and beautifully designed, it's perfect for growing families everywhere. And it's available to order now at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. With exceptional electric drive time and no plugging in, the next generation is ready to take over. See the new Corolla Cross today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Of course they do. Siobhan on Facebook says, what a lovely down-to-earth man, indeed. Another via email. Please congratulate Dennis on his fantastic achievement from an old classmate in Carndonna. Any chance Dennis could get us some Leeds United tickets? That comes in from Martin Bradley at the ATU. Well, we'll pass it on. Is there a huge demand at the moment? Okay, let's say hello to Rose. Hi, Rose.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for coming on and chatting to me. Okay, Rose, what's your experience been recently?
I've got a few minutes for Craig. I'm going to go to taxi with outside. Just want to talk about the wheelchair buses.
Okay, now you recently tried to book wheelchair access on a bus from Donegal to Galway. Just you tell the story and then I'll let you go, Rose, for that taxi.
Yeah. I tried to book to inquire about a bus to Galway from Donegal, and they told me no, they don't. And so they said they were sorry, but they don't do the Galway. So, but we got one to Dublin. So it's really like it's okay to go to Dublin on a bus, wheelchair bus, but it's not fair on the people of the rest of the country that can't get to Galway on the rest of the country. So the rest of the country not matter.
Did they offer any solution at all, Rose?
No, just that they were sorry.
Right, okay, which is no good to you or your husband. And why did it beggars belief? Why is there no wheelchair access on the bus from Donegal to Galway?
No.
Right, Rose. Well, listen, you've made the point. I'll let you go because that taxi's waiting and the meter could be running. Hopefully, you'll switch it off for you.
Yeah.
And we'll see if any other listeners want to get involved in that conversation as well. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
No, best wishes to you and your husband. Okay, so that's Rose. She was inquiring about booking a wheelchair access seat on the bus from Donegal to Galway and was told, no, they don't do it on that route, but they can provide it to Dublin. And Rose, as you heard, they're asking, how is this fair on wheelchair users? It restricts her husband going anywhere around the country other than the areas provided for. And Rose just asked, do they think wheelchair users should only go to Dublin? Is that something that you've come across? 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. Right. Some of the things that you come across your desk. I was sent this picture. It's not photoshopped. I'll explain it for those of you listening on the radio, but I'm holding up to the camera here for our viewers. It's Councillor Malik Quinn standing in a pothole. It doesn't look like a pothole. Is it a pothole? It looks like a collapse in the road, but he's standing in the pothole asking, is this the worst pothole on record? It certainly looks like it. I mean, I've heard of losing your tyre in a pothole, but certainly not the lower half of your body, but he's standing in it. Well, fair play to him. A picture paints 1,000 words, so they say, and that is a significant one. All right, Hugh Harper joins me on the programme now. Hugh, how are you and how's Donna and how are you keeping?
Hi, Greg. Good question. Every day is a different day. But the only thing we have in common is a day without Luna. We're doing all right.
It's ups and downs, and it comes in waves, I presume, for you, Hugh. It just hits you like hits you like a lightning bolt at any time.
You have beautiful weather that we're having there quite recently, and you always would have been taking full advantage of it, and especially there with the rally. It's one of those first times over and over again, without having done it here, but.
Yeah. Leona was a huge rally fan as well, and would have been out with you or friends, Hugh, enjoying that, and we know that. Okay, we were speaking earlier on about the plan that's being developed for Creeslough, and listen, we have to plan for the future, and the area has to be developed, and that probably would have had to have happened in any case. But for you, obviously, especially for someone outside of Creeslough, Hugh, your focus presumably is going to be on the scene of this awful tragedy, the scene where you lost your daughter.
Of course, there's Greg. Yeah. I suppose we can relate to, in a way, 9/11. It's ground zero. That's where the explosion took place. It's where 10 people lost their lives. So many people were injured. It's always going to be a focal point for us, and it always will be.
What would you like to see there, Hugh, or not there for that matter?
That's the most important question for us at the minute, Greg, not there, is that building. We as a family, and I want to be clear that I'm not representing directly other families, but maybe indirectly. We feel that building, they're still standing, the remnants of that building. When you look at it, it brings you right back to that day, the 7th and 8th of October. It is a stark reminder that it's just something that we feel now at this stage, that so much time has passed on, that it's no longer needed, it's no longer wanted.
And can I say and add to this, just for listeners that may not be aware, your daughter lay there for 24 hours. Leona was the last person to be removed from that site. So she lay there for 24 hours. It has a particular significance for you and for your wife who stood vigil waiting for news at that point. This is ingrained and enshrined in your life now forevermore, that part of this entire planet. What would you like to see there if this building is gone, if anything, Hugh? Have you considered that?
Well, people have asked me quite recently that question. And the only thing that I can answer at the moment, Greg, is anything is better than what's there at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it's private property. I understand that it's a commercial site. I do understand all that. But I suppose from the perspective of listening to Liam Ward this morning, I've become privileged to know some of these guys in the county council. Obviously, they've helped us through a terrible amount, and they're always there if you need them. But I suppose my thinking on what's going on at the moment is the regeneration, a regeneration for Creeslough. I do welcome that. It's something that is needed. It's something that, as Liam said, is there for the healing of the people in the town and the likes of us that are not from Creeslough and others that are not from Creeslough.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't understand how you can regenerate one part of the town and still have that part of the building still standing. To me, you could paint all the buildings in the town with bright, nice colours. You could sweep the streets. You could do whatever you want to make that town look new and tidy. And
Hugh, can I hold you for a second? Because I have to break for the news, and I want to hear further what you have to say. So stay where you are, and we'll come back to you very, very shortly. But it is 11 o'clock, so let's get that news, and as I say, then we'll return to Hugh. Good morning, Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The chair of Donegal County Council's Creeslough Working Group is urging people to attend a public consultation at Massonis Hall today as work continues on two projects. Director of Services Liam Ward says the open event between 2 and 8 this evening will update people on progress with the village plan and also present details of a community regeneration project which the council hopes to carry out. Protesters have interrupted the government's consultative forum on international security policy. A number of people began chanting anti-war slogans and heckled the Taoiseach in Cork this morning. Micheál Martin was opening the first day of discussions on the country's foreign security and defence policies. Up to 50 people had gathered outside. A handful were inside the lecture hall at UCC. The Dáil's been told the West and North West is being used as a picturesque region in which to launch plans, but is being ignored when it comes to their implementation. Sligo Leitrim and South Donegal Deputy Mark McSharry hit out at Transport Minister Eamon Ryan, who recently indicated at a meeting of officials and councillors in Sligo that there'd be no money available for the Knock-Clooney upgrade of the N17, despite the fact he said it's been identified as a key element of the Atlantic Economic Corridor. Tomorrow night, June 23rd, is St John's Eve, traditionally a night when fires were lit at sunset and had to be watched and tended until early morning. The bonfire tradition remains strong in parts of Donegal, with Donegal County Council particularly anxious that people don't use waste materials such as mattresses, tyres and sofas on their bonfires. And the supply of oxygen in the missing submersible in the Atlantic Ocean is dwindling rapidly. Oxygen on board the vessel carrying 5 people is forecast to run out at 8 minutes past 12 this afternoon. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
All right, Donald, thank you very much indeed. Now, just before the headlines there, we're in the conversation with Hugh Harper and talking about the regeneration. But of course, Hugh and others as well are very much focused, as you can imagine, on the site of this awful tragedy. And I think it's just worth reminding ourselves as well that we're still well shy of the first anniversary of this awful tragedy. And also, we have yet to find out the findings of a report into it, as far as I'm aware, Hugh. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, Hugh, but just picking up on what you said before 11, is it difficult for you to say, really, how can we progress or get things right until such time as we talk about the actual scene of this explosion? You were saying, yes, you can develop this here and paint that there, but whilst that remains, or whilst we don't know what's going to happen, really, particularly those affected by the tragedy, is it difficult then to move forward with these plans?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Greg. How can there be a development plan or a village development plan or any other plan that doesn't include that site? That to me it has to be. It has to be togetherness. It has to be all in one plan. One plan can't go ahead without knowing what's going to happen with that site. To me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I suppose what I'm trying to say is you can develop one end of the town. You can put as much love and heart and blood, sweat and tears into it as you want, and then once you turn the corner to understand that the caravan park there belonged with the Roderick family, all that good work is undone for me. I'm sure there's people that come to that caravan park of Lorcans there, and they visit a beautiful town, a beautiful area with lovely attractions, but the last word on their lips when they're leaving is that building, what happened at Creeslough. And I suppose, in a way, that's a memorial at the minute, and it's not a fitting memorial. That's something that's reminding people that live local, that pass that every day, that lost people in that building, that were injured in that building. And my heart goes out to them in a way, I hate to use the word lucky, but we are in a way that we're not passing that every day. We don't have to see it every day. And to be quite honest, we find it very difficult to go towards the Creeslough because we know that building's still standing. If
there's something was developed there that was in agreement with everyone, that was a tribute. I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the anger that I was reading about some time ago when there was some suggestion of doing something else with the Stardust site, right? People were up in arms saying, you can't do this. This is the scene of a tragedy. This is not the final resting place, of course, but where people perished and what have you. For some people, it's unimaginable that would become a business again. And I understand we're a small area, okay, and we're all neighbours and friends, and no one's doing anything bad as such. We're just trying to all work through this together, okay? And so I hope no one thinks I'm trying to make any points here, Hugh. But it's just it's unimaginable. For some people, at the very least. Some people would say, right, it's the heart of the town, it should be vibrant, and that's a fitting memorial. Others would say, well, it should be some sort of a place where you can go and reflect and sit and can contemplate, and maybe somewhere you could actually, when the time is right for you, Hugh, go and remember your beautiful daughter. It's a difficult one, but it can't be rushed, and I think we have to try and make sure we find the right way of doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree, Greg. As in terms of a development on that property, I haven't thought that far ahead. It's very early days yet, but I think what we do need is more information as into what maybe the owners think that they would like to do with it. Maybe to have, before we rush into too much of a development plan, to maybe look into exactly what is going to happen with that building, what the proposals are. We are kept in the loop by the Creeslough Community Association. They do do their best, even though we don't really visit the town that much. We do go down on the odd occasion, very, very rare, just to stand and say a prayer and drive on. It's very difficult, but I think we need more discussion and a bit of clarity. I think after that, then decisions could be made to exactly what to be fitting. Do people agree to a new build? What the owners want? It is very early days yet, but I think at this stage now that some movement on that is needed. And
I think it kind of maybe has to be done and discussed outside of the planning process, because let's just say hypothetically, I have no knowledge of what the plans are there or if there are any plans, don't get me wrong, but we could find ourselves in a situation where someone like yourself might have to be making your points as part of a submission to a planning application. For an example, if you know what I mean, I presume that's we want this to be discussed and agreed and everyone accommodated as best as possible, not in that format or that environment.
Well, if this is a community regeneration, it has to involve all the community. It can't be a Creeslough Community Association and the rest outside of that. We're in this together. It's something that happened in a small community. Everybody in that community was affected, even us outside and other families that are outside that community. But I think at this stage now, it go 9 months. We need some movement. We need to hear exactly what the thoughts are. And I suppose at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing now. I'm calling on people to come up with the ideas and the owners to clarify what their positions are. From the point of view, Greg, that and again, this is not. I'm not being personal to the owners. I'm not ridiculing them. I'm not. It's just from that building. I don't know what they see when they see that building, but what I see, it's sheer devastation that brings me back to standing for the 24 hours, getting the owner's body and going across the road to identify it in the mortuary. It's a story that just keeps playing out in my head, and when I see that building every time, whatever today's date is, today's date to me, if I was there now at this moment in time, today's date, today is the 7th of October 2022.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hugh, thanks for your time. Best wishes to you, Donna, and the rest of the family as you work through this awful loss. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, Greg. And listen, before I go, I just want to make it clear that I'm not giving digs to Donegal County Council or the property owners. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're entitled to it, and thanks for sharing it with us, Hugh. Hugh Harper there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Driving on properly inflated tyres will reduce your fuel consumption, extend the life of your tyres, and it's better for the environment. Get your tyres checked by a Circle ELT member today. There are almost 3,000 member outlets nationwide. Circle ELT, Ireland's tyre compliance scheme, and its members help recycle and recover over 4 million tyres every year. To find out more, visit circleelt.ie. Circle End of Life Tyres. Driving a sustainable tomorrow.
Are you tired of how you feel? Despite diet and exercise, are you struggling to lose weight? Do you need help to achieve your weight loss goals? At Letterkenny Medics Private Clinic, we are offering a free consultation to ascertain if you are suitable for treatment on our weight management program. All consultations are confidential and completed by an experienced doctor. We are open 7 days per week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to facilitate your needs. To book an appointment, go to letterkennymedics.ie. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
All the new Citroën models are on display this week during the open week at Highland Motors, Letterkenny. C3 and C3 Aircross SUV. C4 petrol, diesel and electric. The C5 Aircross SUV in petrol and diesel. Plus Berlingo vans, all in stock and ready for July delivery. Call Mark for a test drive on 9127007. The Citroën Open Week, now on at Highland Motors, Letterkenny. Nothing moves you like a Citroën.
Do you
Get smart with your spending so you can do more with your money.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Not with OnPost Money Manager, the smart budgeting app that does the work for you. Securely link all your current accounts and credit cards and see all your spending in one place.
What if I'm running low on cash?
You get a heads up with spending and budget alerts.
Sounds expensive.
Not at all. It's free to use whoever you bank with.
Say no more. I'm going to download the app now.
Do more with your money, no matter who you bank with. Search OnPost Money Manager. OnPost is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Now we are delighted to welcome back onto the programme Keely Taverner, psychotherapist, author and coach. A very good morning to you, Keely. How are you getting on?
Not too bad. How are you, sir?
It's great to see you again. How are you keeping? How's summer in London?
It's not going too bad. I've moved to Buckinghamshire now, so
very nice.
I'm slightly out, but not too far out.
Yeah,
so.
You have the best of both worlds. You can dip your toe into city life or you can chill a little bit.
I'm loving it. I didn't want it at first, but now I've made the move. I'm very glad that I have.
Good stuff. It's a big thing in our life, moving, isn't it? Now, if you want to put a question to Keely, 086 60 25,000, or you can call 07491 25,000. So we hop straight into it, Keely. Couple of questions. All right. I met a lovely fella last year. He's separated and has 2 children. We all get along fantastically. He's got a good parenting relationship with the children's mother. Now he has suggested we all go on holiday together. I said no, but if you want to take the kids on holiday with their mum, work away, not thinking he would. Now they're happily planning this holiday in August. Am I being unreasonable to think this shouldn't have happened and they're separated and therefore should have taken the kids on separate holidays?
Well, I guess in the first instance, you said you didn't have an issue with it, which clearly wasn't your truth. So that would make me more curious about whether you have an agreeable nature, whether you have a desire to please people at your own expense. Because based on your acceptance of it, the individual has then gone and made the plans because they got the okay from you, but now it's not okay. And that's okay, because sometimes we can say yes to things and as they go forward, we kind of revisit things. So my encouragement would be to have the conversation with the individual about not feeling 100% tickety-boo about how things are manifesting.
To what point, though, to say, look at, she heads away with the children, you stay with me, or stuff it, is there late availability on a flight? Because sort of they're at the point now whereby she either has to accept it or do something about it. And I presume that's the part maybe she's looking for Keely to help with.
Well, I would suggest that she has the conversation about not being surprised or now it's actually happening. She needs to decide, would she want to go or have him not go? I think that actually can create quite an issue because the partner then may feel, well, listen, this is something that's important to me. I want my children to have holidays with me. So I would begin to have the conversation, which would then help her to decide whether she goes along or then requests that the partner doesn't go, which I think naturally would create more friction.
I don't think it's unreasonable for her to say, look, fella, when we had that initial conversation, and I'm clearly being very accommodated because, you're able to have a good relationship with your children's mother and your children, that I thought that I didn't think this eventuality would happen. And I'm a human. I'm not a robot, right? And what's happened now is this has evoked concerns in me and emotions in me. And I don't want to be a problem, but I want you to work with me on the problem here. I mean, that's not an unreasonable approach, is it? I've changed my mind a little bit.
I think you need to do my job.
No.
But I think you're right. It's about being human, expressing that, and then seeing where what solution can be arrived at. Like I said, my assumption would be that if she requests that the holiday is cancelled because of her feeling uncomfortable, that's going to be, I presume, a point of contention. So it's just to be mindful of worst case scenario, But I think it's important to have that conversation.
Yeah, and I think they sound to me like a very reasonable group of people that are clearly putting children first. And I think maybe that they might be able to come up to a reasonable resolution to that. I think it's just starting the convo and how you might start it. What's a good setting for that type of a conversation? Because, you know, people go, oh, I bring this up and I bring that up, it's going to ruin the weekend, or this, that and the other. It all depends on the individuals. What's a good setting for that conversation? A busy pub?
Driving can be good.
Right.
Driving, sometimes you're not looking head on at somebody, you know. They can't get out, but it can take the heat out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it can take the heat out of it. You should need to discern for herself, really. Forget a busy pub. Sometimes it might be in bed. Or it could be you could hook it on if the holiday comes up.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I kind of feel a little... And it's important to explore what reaction is going on in her. You know,
and I like this. I like the idea of the car too, because you kind of can maybe conclude the conversation as he's both closed the doors when the journey's over as well. Maybe it compartmentalises it a little bit, does it?
Well, I'm not always a fan of compartmentalisation. Compartmentalisation can result in us pushing things under the rug.
It's not dealing with it, is it?
Yeah, you get the volcano sometimes.
I need to shut up. I'm exposing too much about myself.
Easy. Well, you know, it has its drawbacks.
Yeah, I think we can be hopeful for them, though, if she's just absolutely honest, because, as I say, they obviously are accommodating to each other. And I think if she says, this is my feelings and I never realised I would feel like this. A caller says, I'm stuck. I met a great fella the first year we went to university. That was 9 years ago. We've talked about marriage and children, but at the weekend I got a great shock to hear him tell his friend that he was about 5 years off even thinking of marriage. I just found it so upsetting, and I was hoping for an engagement this year. I'm struggling to get my head around giving this guy another 5 years with no commitment. It's time to take my life and love elsewhere. Can I just say, from a fella's perspective, fellas say a lot of stuff. Doesn't always mean that's what they're thinking. And this guy, knowing his partner's in earshot, could have been testing the water, because he could be fearful she might say no. So just throw that in the mix before you walk away. Now it's over to Keely, the expert.
Bless. Well, I think obviously we all know this, but women, we have a biological clock. And I'm curious, I'll be curious about age, because obviously there's a need for us to have things more or less sorted by around 30.
Yeah, that's spot on. They met in university, together 9 years, probably 2021. You spot on, I would say 30, early 30s.
Yeah, so that might be quite frightening, because obviously by 35, things are starting to change with the body. And I often tell women, like, you have to be, if you want children, we have to be really mindful, especially as we hit our 30s, about the relationships that we're investing in. Because once desperation kicks in, desperation is never a good look. I think, once again, have the conversation. You know, I heard what you were saying in terms of 5 years, and I just wanted to check out where you're at with that, because, you know, that time frame just doesn't work for me, doesn't work for my body clock. And it's important I understand, you know, where you are at in terms of making a fixed commitment.
Is it any sort of a red flag for you, Keely, that they're 9 years in at this point? That's her entire 20s dedicated to this man, and vice versa. And there's still an uncertainty as to whether there's going to be a surprise and a pop the question. Yeah, it's greatly romantic, but you'd imagine that over the course of the conversations they would both know what page they're on.
Absolutely. I think I'd need to understand more about, obviously, the relationship. You know, things have changed. People aren't always so keen to commit. I'd want to understand if there are other commitments. Is there a house? All of those things that can often accompany a relationship. It can be a red flag, but it may not be based on the relationship. I do think it is important now to begin to express a need for a time frame. So she has crystal clear clarity. Well, people say, but crystal clear clarity about what that future is looking like. Because, it is of the utmost important that she would have to start making difficult decisions if need be.
Yeah, and time's cracking on for him as well. You know, what age does he want to be when his child hits 18 or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but remember, you guys can have kids right down till you're 80. So, but like you said, it's about quality of life. Do you want to be able to run up and down with your kids? You know, so, it is important. You know, I'd be curious, is he commitment avoidant? Is he someone who's quite laid back, see how things go? And that you may have gone along with that, but it depends also. Have you got an agreeable nature? Do you tend to just allow people to dictate, which is now becoming an issue?
Yeah.
Definitely find a time, a space, potentially in the car, to have the conversation, to start to bring it up so that you're clear. Not comfortable at all, but definitely something to do, because waiting out, holding out, it's not great for your greatness.
And finally, does she need to be a bit introspective on this? Let me read the final line for you once again. This was a conversation she overheard between her partner and her friend. And the last line of her message is it time to take my life and love elsewhere? Is that indicative of anything either? Or is that just a throwaway remark because of she's peed off?
It can be. Is it time to take my love? Well, the challenge is, relationships aren't easy. If the notion is, jump into the next relationship, that's not always wise. I think it may be about beginning to develop assertive communication skills, to begin to express what's going on for you. And if that's something you haven't done, that is really crucial for where she's at this particular point, because naturally I assume she wants commitment, she wants a family, she wants children, and that's important to her. Take control, take back your power. It does suggest maybe she hasn't been in the driving seat.
Yeah.
As such.
I'd say this is an issue here that's coming up more and more often. My partner often dismisses me working from home. We have 3 children, and when I say I can't collect them from school, that I'm busy, he looks at me as if I'm doing nothing. Same with the household cleaning and preparing dinner. His family are of a similar opinion. How do I approach this to him, that I'm also a working parent, 9 to 5, just like him, just that it's at home and not in the office?
I think it's a massive issue. I think I was speaking with a client yesterday, how our home gets polluted when we do work from home. Some people are in a position where you have your own office, you shut the door, or you put something on the door handle to let people know you're working. I think it's an attitudinal change. But I don't think people often have the same regard. They just think that you are available as if you're just at home on holiday. And I think that's incredibly difficult. I think it's prudent for her to begin to express, her frustration, and that I'm not available in the way that you think I am just because I'm working from home. Because it also depends on the nature of your job. I've worked from home before, and yes, you can get a cheeky hour here or a cheeky hour there. But some jobs, depending on systems they have on their laptop, depending on the nature of your work, it's just not so easy. If you've got KPIs, key performance indicators, for example, if you're in a call center, they're monitoring your outcomes then inform your pay. So I think sometimes you have to educate people about what that actually means. And sometimes I am a fan, if it's an option, sometimes we actually need to go into the office. I think it's actually healthy for us as humans. If that is an option for her.
I think there's a recognition and a respect issue here as well, that he, if it is a he, that he clearly doesn't understand that she's actually working from home, and also respect what she's doing. It's not simply whether she has the time. And it's like to say, well, you know what, I am actually working here, respect that, and maybe ask what I do for a living and how busy I am and how was my day and how did I get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or even ask, can you? I know you're at home, and it's also about the way it's presented, because in the way that you've presented it, it's like it feels like there's a belittling of whatever it is that she does, and an assumption that just because you work from home, you are able to do X, Y, Z. working from home, your home becomes polluted. There's no two ways about it.
Are you working at home or living at work?
There you go. And, depending on your house, do you have a separate room where you can shut the door? Many of us don't. Some of us are working, in the kitchen, front room, or a bedroom, so it's complex working from home. So, and if people don't have the regard, I think it's for us to educate them about that, and try to get them to appreciate it's not just as easy as being able to get up or go, because these systems can monitor people. And actually, evidence proves that people actually often do more work from home than they do when they're not.
Yeah. I met someone recently and I thought everything was going great. Then suddenly he stopped communicating. And when I called him, he said he just needed some time. I really need to know why everything changed. I called his brother for advice and he said to leave it a while. I'm finding it hard to walk away from this situation without any answers. Any advice, Keely?
Well, I always say to people who are waiting for those answers, they still can't work out how the world was made, the Big Bang Theory. And if they can't work out the Big Bang Theory, maybe I need to learn to settle with the fact that this individual does not have the decency to explain themselves to me. One of the biggest problems that causes people issues is this desire for closure. That can leave you hanging on, double checking, triple checking your phone, if it can influence anxiety, and we can't have good rested night. Sleep. Sometimes you may set a deadline if you choose to. If I don't hear from you by I'll just safely assume you've moved on.
Yeah.
I can give you back your power if you give a specific time so that you're letting that individual know after this date it's done. Another thing you can do, because I think this is about reclaiming your power, you're giving your power away, you're now there waiting, looking, hoping, phone checking, phoning around to try to get the answer. One of the things you may need to do, which is about self-protection, if you block, you're not blocking because you're being pathetic, you're blocking to protect yourself. You've now closed the door. And I think I'm a massive fan of us taking back our power, especially when people have hurt us, in order to self-protect. So that way, the anxiety of looking at the phone, hoping, wishing, wanting, you've given that up. You've closed the door. You don't like it, you may not like it, but it puts you back in the driving seat of your life.
Yeah, I hear you there. Right, last one we've time for, Keely. I met my best friend's boyfriend at the weekend. He spent a lot of his time on his phone, even at the dinner table. Not only did I find this rude, I think it's a red flag. She says she's used to it and thinks nothing of it, and I'm being too protective. What does Keely think is right?
You know what? The first thing that flashed through my head is also neurodiversity. I think it's also important for us to talk about neurodiversity because some people, our brains are wired in a particular way and they may not feel comfortable in social settings. And a phone is a perfect way to exclude yourself, especially if you feel uncomfortable, awkward, having conversations, you overthink things. So there's that part of me that I'm not sure if I'm making a justification, but I think it's also important to acknowledge. If you've mentioned it to your friend and your friends become accustomed to it, well, that's a decision that she's making. I guess it would have to irritate her for her to be inspired to have the conversation. But I think it's an important observation as a friend. Obviously, you want interaction. You've met somebody. This is your friend's partner. You're keen to get to know them, to build rapport. And obviously, if he's on the phone, he's denied you that. But there may be reasons for that. He might be socially awkward or neurodiversity challenges.
All right, okay. Can I say hello to your Instagram followers?
Yes, you can.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
All right.
Doubling up here.
Exactly. Listen, you can have me, Greg Hughes. Come here, Keely. Lovely to have you on the show as always. Keely is...
Are you losing weight, Greg?
No, it's just White's very slimming.
There you go.
No, I'm not actually. I'm stubbornly stuck at the same weight. But no, I'm not. But Keely, come here. If people want to, you do some of your work remotely as well in terms of working with couples and stuff. So if anyone wants any more information about your services, how do they get in touch?
Key4change.com.
All right, listen, lovely to have you on the show again. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Okay, that is Keely Taverna there, as I say, psychotherapist, author and coach.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
You know that guy I've been seeing? Yeah? Turns out my sister's been seeing him too. Oh, really? And I heard he's been seeing Siobhan at number 56. And Declan. Your brother? Yep.
Specsavers opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
I've got something to tell you. I've got half an hour with him this afternoon.
Specsavers, your care is our business.
Escape the ordinary and immerse yourself in total relaxation at the Tess Rose Ocean Spa and the 4-star Ballyliffin House and Spa in Inishowen. Discover a luxurious thermal-suite experience and top your experience off in the rooftop garden hot tubs. Book the spa and dine offer with thermal suite experience, hot tubs and 2-course meal from only €49 per person. Book your next spa getaway. ballyliffinhouse.ie.
Hi, it's Claire here from Claire Clothing. Our summer sale has started. I have loads of discounts of dresses, tops, trousers, all of the summer stock. So we'll see you at our summer sale in Claire Clothing, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Experience the Connolly's Volkswagen 232 sales event running until June 30th. The SEAI grant reduces from €5,000 to €3,500 on vehicles ordered after June 30th. Don't miss out on €1,500 towards your new Volkswagen electric vehicle. Discover our latest 232 offers, petrol, diesel or electric. Stock available for immediate delivery. The countdown is on. Order your 232 today from your local Connolly's Volkswagen dealer in Letterkenny, Sligo or Ballina. Visit connellys.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by Expressway. Ireland's national coach provider are inviting you to walk the Yellow Walk for 30 minutes on June the 21st. Sign up at grow.ie today. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 11:33 now, as you heard at the top of the show. There is concern and fear amongst people in the tourism industry on a number of locations around the county because pier works are being carried out, none more so than in Port Salon. Port Salon, whereby it is suggested that the pier could close on July 1st for 2 months. That's the entire summer season. And we found ourselves under pressure time-wise because there are some reports that if this work is not done now, then it could lose the funding that has been allocated to it. And it's an awful catch-22 that everyone's been stuck in here. Hugh Hunter owns Eco Atlantic Adventures and joins us now. Hi, Hugh. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Fantastic, Hugh. Great to chat to you again. So where are you at in this? I mean, I suppose for people who aren't aware, the pier at Port Salon, it is the hub. It's the focal point of all on and offshore activity there, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's the main focal point all over the summer. Like we have people coming from Derry just to come down to pier jump for a couple of hours during the day. We've young lad there, Nathan Boyle. He's always out maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and he comes down from Derry just to go pier jumping, and that's his release. That's what he does. That's his kick. And then you've all other people coming to go kayak, and there's all the other business set up around about it. You could have 40 to 50 kids in groups jumping off the pier at different times, and to take that away from them, it's a massive kick. But the other side of it as well too, if we don't get this pier work done, like I'm in and out past the pier on high tide and low tide, and I see how bad the back of the pier is. And it's just sitting there. So if we don't get this work done now, it could be gone, and the money could be gone as well too. So it's a catch-22. We have to take it now, or we lose it.
Yeah, there's talk of beach access still being there and a floating pontoon to sort of accommodate water-based activity. Do you think that could work? Could that work for you in your business, Hugh?
Yeah, well, look, I've been talking to a couple of local representatives that evening at the meeting, and they were saying they'll do their best to accommodate everybody, and that's what they're doing. We've kind of looked at it from a different aspect, and we've kind of said, look, if we're set up down there, we're going to be away with other people that's going to be in the beach because everything's just going to be crammed into that one spot. So we're looking at maybe moving it a little bit further along to the other beach and set up there for the summer. It's only 2 months, and then we can work away then again after that.
Right, okay. Before I let you go, Hugh, your company's Eco Atlantic Adventures, and you do kayaking out of lots of different places, also out of Port Salon. And myself and Jimmy Duffy went with you on a trip. It's an amazing thing. Just in case this does start interfering with businesses, give us a plug, Hugh, of what you have to offer.
Yeah, look, we're out there every Saturday and Sunday doing kayaking tours at Port Salon Caves, the Seven Arches. That's an unbelievable coastline. And then we have tours running to Fannet Lighthouse, sea kayaking tours this year. And then we're running sea kayaking tours up to Knockalla to the Ghost Ship. We've stand-up paddleboarding, working in Rathmullen, kids camps in Rathmullen, Port Salon and Downs. And we're also running archery in the fort at Rathmullen this year as well too.
All right, brilliant. Okay, and finally, you're saying effectively is we're going to have to suffer the inconvenience here, use this money or lose it. And as someone who might be affected by it, you're having to look at the bigger picture. This is just an accident of time, and we're going to have to deal with it for this summer.
Yeah, but they're also at the other end of this. It was the first time I've seen all the businesses come together that are in that area that came to that meeting that night. And I was kind of sitting at the back of the group and I was going, there's a real opportunity here. There's a massive opportunity for all these businesses to put their heads together and look at this from the bigger picture. We've been kind of concentrating on Port Salon Pier and what it brings. We are sitting on the second most beautiful beach in the world and we're not maximising on that at all. We have walking trails that we could develop on Knockalla. We have cycling trails we could develop on the back roads around Fannet as well too. And all these businesses could actually start working together and seeing what we can pull together for the rest of the season, not just the 6 weeks of the season that we're going to be affected on.
All right, I have to ask, what's the best beach if that's the second?
Somewhere in Hawaii. I haven't been.
Right, good luck to you.
The good thing is that one's on our doorstep and we can use it any time we want.
Exactly, indeed. All right, Hugh, thanks very much indeed. That's Hugh Hunter of Eco Atlantic Adventures. Councillor Liam Blaney's with us as well. Liam, I think Hugh there is one affected, perhaps not affected as everyone is. There's going to be passionate views at meetings like this, but he's been pretty pragmatic here that we've found ourselves in this position and we have to work with it. What's your views?
Well, the meeting was called last night to inform people, first of all, what was happening, and secondly, to try and see if we can accommodate as many as possible, any way that we can. And you mentioned the pontoon there. There's going to be a number of pontoons, I think, put out there to try and accommodate ones that wants to jump but can't jump off the pier, and for to accommodate any boats maybe coming on and leaving people off in the pontoon and going on a smaller boat onto the shore again. And look, ideally, that's not the right time of year. We all know that. And unfortunately, we're in the position we're in that we have no other option. And I know the business down there is going to be hurting. But we're going to try and do what we can to accommodate them and to keep the people coming to Port Salon. Port Salon won't be closed off. It'll be open with welcome arms to anybody and everybody that comes near it. But we're going to try and minimise the disruption as much as we can, and try and accommodate people that is going to be put off. Now, and if some of them can't, the business that's on shore, we can't move them. They're not going to be moved. We'll just try and keep the footfall coming to the area and try and help them through this difficult period, especially after all that they went through over the last couple of years with COVID and everything else. And they were looking forward to possibly a bumper year, and it would be the couple months over July and August is their Christmas for them. That's when they get the most of the people there and when they make their money during the year. And it keeps them taking over.
And I suppose it's worth reiterating, Liam, I'm sure you'll join me in this, in that Port Salon is open for business in summer. All the businesses are open. All the usual access is there. For some, I think the pontoon actually might be a bit more fun and more of attraction than the pier. But it's the work is on the pier, but Port Salon is open for business all summer.
Port Salon is still going to be open for business all summer, and the only part's going to be closed off, and I'm not minimising the effect it's going to have. And I should have said possibly the only part's going to be closed off, but the part that's going to be closed off is from below the access to the beach, from there out to the end of the pier. That whole pier is going to be closed off because it's going to be a construction site. But look, Hugh was on there, and the discussions with Hugh to see if we can try and accommodate him, what he's looking for. I've already been in contact with a number of others over there, but we are accommodating them. And we'll keep working on that to see how we get on with it. But as you say, the important message to get out there is that Port Salon is open for business and will be all summer.
A business person messaged in, Liam, last question to you and says they appreciate what has to be done, but is there any possibility, or has it been explored, to get an extension on drawing down the money and to do it later in the year? I presume all those avenues have been exhausted, have they?
Those avenues have been exhausted, and they're being exhausted again to see. But a lot of the other peers in the county envy the position that Port Salon's in, and that they require foreshore license, where we don't need a foreshore license here in Port Salon. The money's supposed to be spent before the end of the year. They're unsure what's going to happen. They're funding now if they don't get the foreshore license very shortly, or haven't got the foreshore license, and they envy what's going on, that we're able to go ahead in Port Salon, but that doesn't take away from the problems that's going to be that's existing down there. Will be down there whenever the work does start, and people will feel that we can't go down near there. It's going to be a construction site, but we're going to do the best we can over them 2 months, especially when it's going to be the busiest time of the year, to try and accommodate everybody in every way we can.
Yeah, okay. How can you, a caller says, how can you accommodate people on a building site? Children spend their summer jumping off the pier. How will this be accommodated? Well, the pier jumping will not be accommodated on the pier. That's what, now it's not going to have the same thrill, presumably, the floating pontoons and stuff.
It's not going to happen on the pier, but we're going to, that's the idea of taking down the pontoons to try and minimise the effect that it was going to have of having nothing there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get these pontoons out now for temporary, while the work's going on there for a couple of months, so that children will be able to jump off the pontoons. It's not the same as jumping on the pier. It's not the same height as jumping on the top of the pier. I understand all that, but look, as a way of one of the ways of trying to accommodate people the best we can, and we're not going to accommodate everybody in every way, but we're going to do our damnedest to try and accommodate the most people now.
All right, cheers. Thanks very much for that. We do appreciate it. That's Caherlock Councillor Liam Blaney there.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet are the leading suppliers of solid fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, bringing warmth and comfort to homes in Donegal and beyond for nearly 50 years. So visit our showrooms in Ballybuffet or call us on 074 9131 700 or online at thestovestore.ie for more details.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
Sit back, relax and sink into the comfort of a new sofa, available now at the Easy Living Furniture Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale, with up to 2 years interest-free finance on a wide range of sofas that are in stock and ready for delivery. Luxurious designs, unbeatable prices and endless comfort await you. The Sizzling Summer Sofa Sale is now on at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
With July around the corner, it's time to get your 232 ordered. With low finance rates, it's time to find out why Nissan is dominating the Irish market. With petrol, e-power hybrid and electric models. Call into iMotors today. We're sure to have a Nissan model for you.
Jake's famous All-American Burgers has crossed the Atlantic and is now in Kelly's American Roadside Diner. Always tasty, always fresh, and so damn satisfying. Call in now for a taste of Southern hospitality at Kelly's American Roadside Diner.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Who said electrification can't spark excitement? From introducing Ireland's first EV to redefining the family car, Nissan has always led from the front. And now we're breaking new ground once more with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system, fueled by petrol, driven by electric, no need to recharge, giving you the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. New Nissan Qashqai and X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it at your nearest Nissan dealer. Nissan.
innovation that excites.
Your local Nissan dealer is iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin. Visit imotors.ie.
Cow culture cost farmers millions. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our exclusive analysis reveals how a potential cow cull scheme could impact your farm. County councils to ramp up water quality inspections on farms. New grants to do up all farmhouses and farm safety measures. Find out who can claim the new 60% women's TAMS payment. And don't miss your free 32-page summer food magazine with unmissable advice on cooking the perfect steak.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, on sale today.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Maybe your pride is green and gold, or your belief is red and white. Because these aren't just our counties, these are our colours. Show your colours in Ballybuffet this Saturday, when Donegal take on Tyrone in the Football Championship preliminary quarter-final at 7 p.m. The GAA Football All-Ireland Senior Championship, sponsored by Allianz, AIB and SuperValue. Advanced ticket sales only at gaa.ie or selected Centra and SuperValue stores. GAA, where we all belong.
Still can't pay on the gate, but anyway. A caller says, I think the entire... I'll come back to that in a second. Just off the back of our last conversation, this is a joke talking about work going on at a pier. My God, they complain when work is getting done and complain when no work is getting done. Can't please them. Well, I don't think so. I think people are just having a view, general acceptance that it's positive, but also saying, look, is there no way it can be done at a later date? It's conversation. Conversation is really important and shouldn't be shut down, I don't think. Mary McGrenra is our next person we're going to converse with, who is the service coordinator at the Irish Wheelchair Association. How are you getting on, Mary? How are you keeping?
Good, Greg. Thanks for having us on this morning.
It's good to have you on. Think Housing, Build Accessible. It's a national campaign led by the IWA. It's calling for urgent action to tackle the acute and growing shortage of wheelchair livable homes in Ireland. And I suppose as we rush now to sort of, well, some say we aren't rushing, but anyway, ahead of steam to try and build lots of new housing, we don't want to leave anyone behind. We have to make sure that in our haste that we don't neglect doing it correctly. Is that a concern you might have?
Yeah, that's exactly the concern. IWA, as you rightly say, have the campaign running, and we're hosting a roadshow tomorrow in the Clanry Hotel at 12 noon. Anyone who has an interest in housing should come along, but especially people with disabilities or their family members. The campaign is two-pronged. There is a target which is yet to be set in stone, that all new builds should be 30% of them should be wheelchair livable. Currently, houses are wheelchair accessible, which means you can get into the house. They meet Part M of the building regulations, but you can't necessarily live in it. So what we are looking for now is, by being wheelchair livable or universal design, it means what it says. People can actually live in them. And it will accommodate not only those with physical disabilities, but also people with sensory disabilities, intellectual disabilities, mental health, and an ageing population.
Of course, sorry? Yeah. No, I was going to say, but we don't want sort of this to be something that people do voluntarily. Really, there should be regulatory change, shouldn't there, to ensure that this is actually something that must be provided.
Yeah, and this is part of the campaign. We are calling for an amendment of Part M of the building regulation, which is the section relating to access and use. And, you know, to be fair to Donegal County Council, they're very much behind this. And I actually sit on their disability steering group. So it's a conversation that is frequently had by all of the stakeholders, and there's work ongoing in the background. The second part of the campaign is called Think Ahead, Think Housing, because, of course, you know, if you have the housing, people need to know how to apply for it. And one of the things that I frequently say to people, particularly people born with a disability, you know, you will get to an age where you will want to leave home like your peers. You will want to live independently. And, you know, there is no point in deciding 6 months beforehand, well, I'm going to move out and I need a house. So you have to plan for that. So people need to be empowered to make application for social housing, to navigate the system. Now, the system has become more user-friendly, but again, it's that lack of awareness, and this is about awareness raising and supporting people to do that. And there are many barriers to people with disabilities seeking housing. It's not straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes, lack of suitable housing is one of the barriers, but there are also things like, people may not be confident enough to negotiate the system, or they may not know how to go about it. Or it can be, family members want to keep them within the family home, keep them safe, keep them secure, particularly a person born with a disability. Or it can be that, the statistic is that people with disabilities are 50% less likely to be in employment than those who are not disabled. So, of course, finance is a matter as well.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I don't want to sort of suggest problems, but my initial reaction to this might be, Mary, is that the building industry pulls an awful lot of strings in this country right now. If you say 30% of homes need to be wheelchair livable, now we're not saying that 30% of homes would be given or available to people with a wheelchair. There might not even be that level of demand, but you're looking to the future. But a contractor might say, right, but that means 30% of my houses might have wider hallways. They might have smaller rooms. The kitchen might be different, and they're not going to be worth as much for me to sell generally into the open market. That's the kind of pushback I can expect from the very influential developer sector.
Oh yeah, and that's certainly possible. I know I was looking at some figures that were given recently at a meeting I was at, and the additional cost apparently is 5%, and the houses are 10% bigger. So to meet this requirement, so it's not exactly huge. And the other thing is from the developer side, and which is strange for me to be talking, but people do want bigger houses. And again, we are an aging population, and it's not about wheelchair users. It's about, if I'm a parent with a buggy, as you are, Greg, then, hallways are narrow and buggies are wide.
Yes, and it's hard to keep the little buggers in the buggies too. But yeah.
And they're getting wider and more sporty.
I do understand,
it isn't, and
we have to be planning for the future, particularly in social housing, because the demographics are changing, and there's going to be different demands on it in terms of long-term rentals and stuff. So I think actually you're doing a service here. It's not just about the now. This is about, we have to make sure that the future housing stock, when we get to it, we're not constantly just doing, giving out grants to convert premises, that we're building premises that are fit for purpose for the future for all different types of reasons. While we might always have been in a wheelchair, or might end up in one, or we might have our mobility, changes in our mobility ability.
Yeah, and certainly, again, I can only speak for physical and sensory, and again, as we age, all of us, the fittest of it, our mobility will be affected. So having the bigger bathroom, having the accessible shower deck, you won't have to go looking for the grant from your county council in 5, 10, 15 years' time. And, realistically, the grants don't meet the cost anyway, which is a whole different conversation. And everybody's welcome tomorrow. There will be information again on adaptation grants. We have invited the local authorities, the voluntaries, the statutories, and the public. So anyone can turn up, and there will be speakers there who have the lived experience, people who are currently in the system and people who have come through the system.
Lovely to speak to you, Mary. Have a lovely day, will you?
You too, Greg. Thank you very much.
Take care of yourself. Goodbye. That's Mary McGrenra, who's Service Coordinator at the Irish Wheelchair Association. Just to remind you that Think Housing Roadshow is in the Clanry Hotel. That's in Letterkenny. It's tomorrow, the 23rd of June, and it kicks off there at 12 noon. Earlier, we had a text about someone who witnessed one couple spitting into another couple's food. It turned my stomach even reading it, but we can't shy away from things that happen either, can we? About spitting, how would the manager know unless standing watching? If that is the case, was he outside standing at the pod? Yeah, indeed. If the couple who were the victims don't report it, staff didn't see it, and it was a complaint that was made after the fact, I don't know, what are you to do? There's a birthday request there I'll get to in a second. Hi, Greg. I live in a council house and they're putting in air to water in all the houses. I read that the electricity is very high with it. Can you find out? Also, do you have to take it? I don't know the answer to that question, but I know all great listeners out there will know. Is air to water heating more expensive? I know a couple of people, and it is two. When I say a couple, I don't know a lot of people who got it in. The pumps gave in after 5 or 10 years. I can't remember exactly when they said, and the cost was such that they're not replacing them. They're simply not replacing them. So what's your review of air to water? Is it more expensive to run? This person is living in a council house. A caller says, I think the entire area where the Creeslough tragedy happened should be turned into a memorial garden. I appreciate the owners should get paid for it. Surely the council could do a CPO on it like they do with other areas. And I just want to be really careful here is that we don't have the views of the owners. We don't know what their plans are, what their views on this is. And no one is critical of them. Hugh, who lost his beautiful daughter, and is not being critical of them either. This is not what this is about. It's just people having their views. So let's finish off with that request. I'd like to wish my granddad, Brendan Doherty, a very happy birthday. He's in Medical 4 in Letterkenny Hospital, coming in from your granddaughter, Katie. Get well soon, Brendan, from Katie, I'm sure, and from all of us here at Highland Radio. OK, we're back tomorrow morning, Friday, with the Friday panel, where we get 3 brilliant guests on to discuss all the big stories of the day and the week. They'll be joining us. If you have anything you want to put to them, get in touch with us. And loads more besides that, Michael and Fanula as well. But from me, Greg Hughes, and Caroline and Niamh, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Stay tuned for John Breslin around the Northwest after the news at 12.
The night.